Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Thursday Night Forum. And we're on the eve of the curtain. What's the opposite of curtain raiser? What's the opposite of curtain raiser?
Curtain dropping on this thing, man. Come on.
We don't know. Arsenal don't know either. But Arsenal are in football's no man's land, right?
And Arsenal's just like rolling around.
We are much better than Man United. We've been much better than Man United and Newcastle this season in the league, but not quite good enough for Man City, the juggernaut that is Man City. Stan mentioned, I think on Sunday, we haven't had an opportunity to celebrate St. Totteringham's Day, top four.
I said that.
You said that then. Okay. It was somebody between these two things here. It was rattling around in there, Gary. So, yeah, we haven't had it. And I was thinking at the time, Gary, I'll go to you first then. I was thinking at the time, well, we haven't celebrated St. Totteringham's Day because we're so much better than them. We haven't celebrated top four because we were in a title race. And here we are on the final game of the season coming up against Wolves. And listen, there's lots of meat on this bone of this season we're going to talk about as well. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, and that's, I don't know why I'm smiling, because it's the negatives pretty hurt. They hurt, they sting.
Mm-hmm.
Positives, you can look back and go, oh yeah, it was good, and then people will say, why aren't you happy with the second place? But then they're laughing at us because of the second place. So of course we never win. Right?
Well, yeah.
Arsenal fans won't win. If we say, well, we finished second, then you bottle it. And if you say, well, we didn't win or something like that, then you know what? Yeah, that's what you always do. So they always got us. So, but no, it's the second place for me is like something I want to talk about. I'm like looking forward to talking about at the end of the season. I want to get through the season and hopefully go out on a good note, on a big note. Like for me right now, the only way I can feel good about this last game is if we win like 10-0. Because we've been saving up like, all right, can I get 3 in a row? All right, can I just get 2 in a row? All right, so now we just have the 1 left. So for me to feel, for me to feel like the team felt something and wants to, go out in a blaze of glory kind of thing, then it's got to be a big game for us. Like it's, like last season kind of, I think we won, 3 or 4-0 or something, 4-1 or whatever it was. So need to see them go out the same way, go into the summer on a high note, and we'll see what happens in the summer.
Yeah, look, BX Gunner is still locked out of his account or whatnot. He's using aliases of his wife, his daughter, his niece, his cousin.
Why don't you just create a new account, my man? At least create your second account, because everybody else has it, right?
BX Gunner's here, and Steven's here. Evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. I just got home today from the scorched ruins of the Alberta countryside for some much needed rest. So great to have you guys here. Second place is a massive step in the right direction. Stan,
you said that we've been so busy that we haven't really stopped to celebrate St. Totteringham's Day yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we could just do that now. As for Gary saying that he wants 10 goals in the last match, do you know what I want? I want double points. Get 6 points for a win. That would be fantastic if we could somehow get that. But it was funny because before the last match, somebody wrote on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, that they were saying, I think it might have even been Riddy, saying, I just wish the season was over now. And I was like, I'm looking forward to the last 2 games. I'm not now. Not after that last game. I was just like, yeah, can we just stop now? Just stop it now. So we have to go through this last game. I don't know what it's going to tell us, if anything, to be honest. So we are where we are.
Yeah, we are where we are. The table does not lie.
We can't catch no one. No one can catch us. but we should try and finish with a little bit of pride. It'd be nice to finish on a high. As I said in the last one, you always remember your last sale, right? So if our last sale can be a win, then at least we have that to remember as we go into the summer.
Yep. Let's go upstairs to Tony. Tony, stay as much as you like or as little as you like, given the state of your voice right now.
I'll say as much as I can. If you can understand me, I don't care. But to me, still disappointing into the season. It was in our hands. I don't care how much money that city has, because Newcastle has about 20 times more money. Realistically, they do. 400 billion versus 20 billion.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody's saying, oh, we got next year. Do we? Do we really?
There's always another year.
Are we going to be competitive in multiple competitions?
Big question mark.
We have yet to do that with Arteta's tactics. We won't do that. So he has to stop being stubborn. He has to adapt more styles of play. He has to trust players. He has to play young players. He has to play the players that he fucking buys in January instead of just keeping them in the shop window or whatever he was doing.
Holding them back.
Because if Trossard played, we would have won the title. Still say Jesus didn't come back. He'd also won the title. But to me, we didn't take our chances. We had it wide open. Same thing as last year. We had fourth in our hands. Blew it multiple times. Could have won it at Newcastle. They don't show up. Now we have two of our final 3 games. We haven't showed up. We'll see if we show up there versus Wolves. Wolves might be a good upset pick.
No, Tony. The pattern is right there. This is last season's pattern. Out of the last 3 games, we lost 2 of the last 3. It was Tottenham and it was Newcastle away from home. Eerily similar to this season. And
I talked myself out of picking Arsenal last week. So
you got a we have basically a dead rubber game on Sunday where we play Wolves. We beat Everton, I think, 6-1 last season at home. I'll go to Stan first before Gary, because Stan, this is the sequence at the end of last season. 2 losses running into the last game where we beat Everton 6-1, and it kind of looks similar to this season.
As good as the season that we've had, you have to think to yourself, well, this is the 2nd season in a row where we've had targets in reach. Last season, it was getting into the top 4. This season, it was actually getting our hands on the actual trophy. And both times now, we've collapsed a little bit, folded, not been up to it at the end to see it through. And that is quite concerning. The squad has had some new additions since last season as well. We were told, we were under the impression that Jesus, Jorginho, even Trossard with Premier League experience, being 26 years old, and Zinchenko would be enough experience-wise to help get us over the line. Taking out Trossard, 3 of those have all done this Premier League. They all know what it takes, but for whatever reason, there are numerous reasons, we weren't able to quite get there. And that is a concern of mine, right?
John the Revenite says, you bottle it. It's okay to say the word.
You know what? There was a time at one time when I was like, I don't want to use that word. But after that last game at Forest, it's hard to debate anybody. That's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That makes any sense.
Yeah.
I just try to prefer, I like the word collapse.
Yeah. We really fell off the cliff a little bit. Gary's up next. We fell off the cliff a little bit toward the end of the season after, let's say, the West Ham game, 2-2 draw. because a lot of us could stomach a draw at Anfield, albeit we could have won that game, we could have lost that game. We got a draw. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Stan said last 2 seasons actually kind of seems like it's actually third or fourth season that we've kind of looked like, we've lost some games that you probably look back and go, we need to do a little bit better. I mean, if you think about it, I think the first season we lost to I think it was Southampton in a cup match and Olympiacos, right? And then last season, the season after that, it was Villarreal and Nottingham Forest, right? I mean,
We can probably go back further, right, with the Europa League Cup final.
Well, I'm just thinking about with Arteta because we can't
Mhm.
really talk about what
Valencia.
we can't talk what Unai Emery did, but let's go with this era. This is a new era we're in, right? So we've had some of those marquee losses, if you want to say that, if you want to call it marquee losses. We look back and go, those ones hurt, and basically, we kind of done a similar thing, like I said, these last couple of seasons, we've had those losses. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, we lost to Brighton, which seemed at the time in the cup. Was it Brighton? I think it was Brighton that we lost to in one of the cups, right? And
This season,
yeah. And it looked bad. It looked bad on paper, but look at them now. You're like, it's not as bad, but I think we weren't playing as many starters as we could have. So we don't take these things. We don't take these things seriously, and winning begets winning. If you're not trying to win every game, then how in the world are you going to do? You cannot turn it on. I believe that, truthfully. You should be trying to win every game. If you're not, then what are you doing out here? This is a sport where you're trying to win. You know what I mean? It's like going out there and not, we talk about being a salesperson. If you went out there and you're like, oh, I know this is not going to be a good sales for me, so I'm just not going to try, right? And that's not how sales people work. They actually want to sell to everybody, no matter how difficult it is. And for us, every game we have to be trying to win. We have to look like we're trying to win. And I think sometimes mentally we look like we're just like, it's all right if we go out there and just show up. And I think we need to change that mentality. We should be looking like every team a lot of teams challenged City for like a half. When's the last time we played a good half against them where it looked like we might have, we either held them scoreless or we could have a chance.
Put up a decent show at home and at the Emirates for the first half.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But for me, that first half where it was 2 or 3 seasons ago where we had a lead going into the last couple minutes of the game, that's the one for me. Like, I don't know why we don't look at that half and go, can we just mimic that? Because I think we still play that same way now, and we have better players, and we are more those players that played in that game they're much better than that now. But how comes every time we play them, we don't look that good? And I understand with injuries and stuff, but still, a lot of those players were in that game. Those players were in that game. Probably at least half of them, if not more, were in that game and played that first half, and we looked really good.
I think in some ways, Gary, they have our number a little bit, and the impetuosity of the young players. We've seen the areas where we got a little bit too anxious. We got a little bit too gung ho.
But they know how to play them because they've done it.
Yeah.
It's not like something they haven't done before.
We're not going to do it until
we just haven't repeated it again. That's my thing. Is like we have to be consistent.
Yeah.
We know how we can play against these guys, and
it's not Arteta's way though, Gary.
It's what?
Said it's not Arteta's way though.
Listen,
he has his system.
It's got to be his way. Listen, I'll go first on Arteta. I fully recognize he's making mistakes, and he's made mistakes this season. Fully recognize that. He's 4 years into his career as a manager, and he's going to need time to reflect. And we are hoping. I was hoping we would see these things, Stan. I was hoping I would see improvement from the season before to this season. Now we have seen it in the table, but Arteta needs to learn that you can and you need to rest some players throughout the season in order to get to the end. Right?
My theory on that, as I've been kind of looking at that and thinking about that, The difference between us and Man City, if you're looking at Man City as the blueprint, they don't really have a first team and a second team. They have a squad of players that they're able to rotate, so that if one comes out and the other guy comes in, he's not a backup player. He's of a similar quality, and you don't see a huge drop off. Whereas we have a first 11, and then there is kind of backups. And you notice the drop off when Holding has to come in. There's a huge drop off. You know, if a Cedric has to come in, there's a huge drop off. If an El Neni has to come in, there's a huge drop off. And I think until we were able to get in a position where we have a decent squad of players of an equal quality, rather than having second strings and backups, then we may have a chance of keeping pace with a team like Manchester City. You know, the fact that we're going to be in, more competitions, notwithstanding.
Yeah, no, I think the failure with this is every time we go out there and we go through our windows and we bring in players, we're pretty good at, when we bring in like players that can compete for starting positions. We're pretty poor when they bring in players that they know aren't ready and need time. I mean, we've done this now. This is like the third, so you had
Marquinhos is a good example, right?
Marquinhos
or Gary
Zombie and
hesitation.
And Lakonga.
Those are three players, right? If you add up how much they cost, we could have got one player, and they probably would have an opportunity to start for us. But they brought in what I would call projects, and they never worked out. And like I don't like our scouting is not good because those players coming in. I don't know about you guys, but as soon as we saw them, we're like, well, they don't look the way he treats them basically shows you that he's not ready to play them.
He treats them. Go and get me some coffee.
2, when they actually do play, you realize they don't fit. Right? They're not where we need to fill certain holes. They need more playing time. We're not going to give them that. So then you basically just wasted a year, 2, 3 years of their career because you're not going to give them the time because you can't, because he won't. He should, but he won't.
But do you not think, Gary, once we raise that quality,
Marquinhos look good.
Once we raise that quality of the ones that are not in the team, who are on the bench waiting to be rotated in, he may use them more because I think he's looking at some of the bench now and he knows that if I'm going to put you in, there's going to be a huge drop off. If I put you in, there's going to be a huge drop off.
The perfectionist
reluctant to use them, which then puts a strain onto the first 11.
He knows.
But
he knows he's not going to
you kill your starters. Guess what you'll have in a couple of years? You have to go through this whole thing again. All right. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's not necessarily that it's like, it works today, but dude, you cannot keep doing this because can Saka play 38, 37 games in a season plus Champions League? No, that can't happen. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. And it's
plus FA Cup, plus Community Shield.
Yeah, and then he's going to play for his country as well, right? So,
yeah.
I want to say hello to everybody in the chat.
Definitely.
Go through and say hi. Steven, Spencer, Ravenite, Mike, Hertz. Who else you got? BX Gunner. Say hello to everybody. Welcome
BX Gunner under the guise of Melissa Marquez. Yeah, that's our new signing for the season. Let's get through a few comments as well.
I got a feeling about BX Gunner. I think he's some sort of a secret agent, goes undercover on missions, and happens to just join the podcast while he's like in deep cover.
Yeah, his cover is an Arsenal supporter. Stephen said, "I'm not sure this last match will tell us anything new. We're not deep enough at the back. The midfield needs serious work, and Arteta's flaws were covered up by the players in the first 29 games."
You know what? It will show because it doesn't. I don't understand how other teams who I believe have talent, as players that aren't as are as talented as some of ours that start, right? But we've got them on our bench, and they go out there and they actually play, right? So for me, you have to be able to get those players to play for you no matter what. It seems like he wants them to play for 90 minutes, and it's like, no, they don't have to play for 90 minutes. They have to go out there and perform. If they get tired and you pull them out, that's why you have 5 subs. You know what I mean? So he needs to rotate, and I'm going to say that. I've been saying it for years.
You've been saying it, yeah.
And he needs to just rotate. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter anymore for me that you know what, they just don't fit. You went out there and you saw something in them. Guess what? It might be there if you don't tap. You got to tap that and tap it and see if you can get it out of them. I mean, that it's a really, really bad phrase there, isn't it? But he needs to go in there and try to figure. He saw something in them. That's why they picked them up, and it can't be because they were cheap. Because that we can't. We're not Arsenal, but you shouldn't. You can't be just picking up players off the clearance rack just to fill a hole. It doesn't work.
Gary, any tips for trips like Bodo Glimt in the Europa League for Revenite?
Yeah, take some sandwiches. Food's crap.
The food's not so good. Bodo Glimt, plastic pitches, dark, dour.
Oh, that's right. There's
places.
There's apartments behind
and
it.
The lights. The lights are not so bright on the streets. You know what I mean? They zzz in and out. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So, but
like in Stranger Things.
Yeah. But the fans' impatience fester back to 19 years of no league titles, says Spencer.
Yeah.
The pain builds up. Yeah, listen, we go on another year, and we have failed in the quest of a league title. It's rather different.
Make a point as well. I mean, just make a point. With the way that a lot of people are talking about how we failed this season. I mean, I use Liverpool as an example. That in the last 6 years of the Premier League, they've only been stopped once by Liverpool, and that Liverpool team. Maybe not so much this season, but I mean, there was a period of time where they were so dominant, and sometimes you would watch their matches if you just wanted a bit of entertainment because they were good to watch, Salah and Mane and the defense of Van Dijk, and they were only able to stop Man City once in the 6-year period. So, I think we've done pretty good to get to where we've got to. If you look at Mikel Arteta's tenure, it was an 8th place finish, then it was a 5th place finish, now it's a 2nd place finish. Mm-hmm. So we've been on an upward trajectory, and there's only really one more spot to go now from 2nd. You've set the level, we've set a bar now.
Now, question here from Revenite. Listen, I've acknowledged Manchester United have had a decent season. They're 4th place and won a Carabao. So, Stan, next season, if Arteta slips to 4th and wins the Carabao, do you keep Arteta?
You see, it's hard to say that just looking at if that's the result, because as I've always said, I understand going into every season that Arsenal will lose games and draw games, and I can handle that. What I don't like though is the manner of losses. So if the reason that we finish in 4th place is because there's people strolling around on the pitch, or it's just like crazy tactics, or we've bought some duff signings, then there's a case, isn't there, to the managerial decisions. But if we've played our guts out and we finished in 4th, that means, and the other teams are just better than us, you can't blame anyone from that. All you can do is try to improve, right?
Yeah. So listen, I think winning the Carabao Cup and getting 4th place is a good season. I think coming 2nd in the league and having a race to challenge Man City, knowing we don't have the squad that we should have to beat them. As I sat back here in January and February thinking we're possibly going to win the league title with Eddie Nketiah in our squad. I should have known better even with that comment. You know what I mean? BX said we needed a better balance of youth and veteran experience. I think if we get something like a Caicedo and a Rice, they don't have to be old to be veteran. Declan Rice has a lot of games under his belt. Gary, you look like you're winding up right now.
There's a couple of things. I mean, there's the Gundogan. I'm like just destroying his name. Sorry. I mean, he's a player that brings you the age, and he's used to not having to start every game, and he also performs. So he would be like your El Neni, but way better, right? In the sense that he doesn't have to start every game, but when he comes on, he's going to give you 8s and 9s and even 10s on his day, right? Based on what we've seen, even if he dips for us, his 8s and 9s is still better than what we're getting.
He's older than Granit Xhaka.
Not going to happen.
He's older, but look at it. Look at the body of work and tell me there isn't a difference, a significant.
No,
difference.
he's a better player, but he's older.
Yes. No, I know, but you know what? It's not something I would. It's one of those things where, our transfer business and then tell me why. That's almost like when we picked up Jorginho. It's not the answer. It wasn't the answer for Rice or Caicedo, but it filled a hole that we needed, and we weren't going to get it elsewhere. So if we don't, and do we get our number one targets?
No,
when we get our number one targets, then I'll be right there with you. But until we get since we don't, when was the last time we got a number one target that had no relationship with Arteta or with Brazil or with Portugal?
You got
or
a lot
whatever.
of this. You got a lot of this.
No, but there's like three. Yeah, I had to put that in there.
Caveats.
No, but you know what I mean. There's
32 of
always
them.
something about the targets that
yeah.
we don't have to go back and forth with, right? The ones that we don't go back and forth with, there's a
Hard to-
relationship
Julio.
there. But yeah, everybody was knocking on his door to bring him in.
Ramsdale.
You know what I mean?
Ramsdale.
True.
But
You know what
there
you catch lightning in a bottle, right? Because like where was our Ramsdale this summer window?
Saliba.
No, stop.
Trossard.
No,
Trossard
that's a
was
January
pretty good.
window. But I'm saying
Trossard was good.
like our summer window, like a Ramsdale who's going to be with us for the entire season. You know what I mean? Those are I think they took a risk and it panned out. But I don't think we can be taking too many risks because they look like Sambi and Marquinhos and players like
Marquinhos
that.
look fine. He's young.
Well, we're not
Give him
playing
time.
him, so Arteta doesn't trust him. So what's the point of bringing him in? Until
That's the
Arteta
problem.
play, if you don't play your players, then why are we bringing them in? He had Jorginho and Trossard, and he still wouldn't play them. So what makes me think he's going to bring anybody in and play them? He has to trust the players he brings in. They do. They spend a lot of money, and he wastes it.
Then why sign anybody?
We should just give up, Tony.
Can I just say about
Throw in the
Gundogan?
towel.
Can I just say about Gundogan? Gary said, like, is he the answer? I would say, is he even the question? Because I don't think he's even coming to us. I just feel that he's if this was a video game, when it comes to the Premier League, that's been completed. He's completed that. Yeah. He's probably going to, I would say, end up in Barcelona, maybe somewhere like that. Yep.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Yeah, but you know what?
I don't think he's going to come to us.
No, but you see what you said there. That's where Arsenal needs to be, right? That's where Arsenal needs to be, like a guy who, like a Gundogan, who just may go and finish and get the treble, and looking to do something, and maybe either go back home or go back to where he's comfortable. At some point, it needs to be an Arsenal needs to be the answer to that.
Why can't we be getting the guy that is going to perhaps has the potential to go to a City and replace a Gundogan? Why can't we be in that market?
Because Gundogan's leaving. That's why. Yeah, if Gundogan wasn't leaving, then we can go get that guy. Yeah, but he's leaving, so we can't get the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, but the person that they're going to replace Gundogan with, someone will be replacing him. Right?
He's not coming here because he's going there.
You can't buy all the players.
The guy that you're talking about that's going to City is not coming to us.
Let me rephrase it then. What I'm saying is that
Germany, by the way,
rather than being in the area where it's like, oh, this person could be leaving City, oh, that person could be leaving City, and they're past their prime, so to speak, because you have to say that as good as a player Gundogan is, would you really risk giving him a 3 or 4 year contract? That would be taking a massive gamble. Because legs don't last forever. What I'm saying is, why can't we be in the market that when a Gundogan is on his way out, and perhaps they're looking at who could we be bringing in to fill that hole? Why can't we be in that market instead of looking for the scraps off the table all of the time?
Yeah.
You know why? Because we got
we got the money.
We got Sambi and Tavage and players like that. That's why. Because we're getting those players when we're supposed to be getting the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I think.
I'd only take Gundogan if it was a similar deal as a Jorginho. A stopgap, it'd be like 18 months, but he could probably get a better deal elsewhere. Because I worry about we've been there with Willian, haven't we? Even though he's doing okay at Fulham,
I think
we have been there before.
Willian didn't come off a season where he was hitting shots in a in a semifinal.
He was doing good at Chelsea.
We're going to have a big window.
No. But the levels. Remember, there's levels to this thing.
Hold on to your thoughts.
Man was doing this in the semifinals of a Champions League. Willian wasn't doing that when he came to us, I believe. Right?
I can't remember that. He come off the bat. I can't remember where they were that season. But as much as I like Gundogan, I don't think he's going to come. He's done England. He's probably his missus is probably going like lovely beaches
Germany.
in Spain, lovely weather,
Spencer
lovely
says
shopping.
Germany.
And then Germany.
Germany,
He's done England 3 times.
It's so good I said it 3 times. Tony, do you still remember what you were about to say?
Yeah, I was going to say everybody's kind of a little bit full of horse shit because it's not FIFA, it's not Football Manager. You pick players that fit your system. They don't have to be great.
Players that fit the system.
Right now, our
Us,
system seems to be ex-City
Us.
players.
Gary, you talked enough. My voice will collapse quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But last year you had Tavares. This year you put Zinchenko there. You take Tavares, you put him in France. What did he do? He scored playing the exact type of thing as Zinchenko does. Because last year we used a fullback instead of wingbacks. This year we use wingbacks with a center back and a left midfielder. But to my point, go back 15 years ago, we finished with 83 points. You look at that team, there's not too many players in that team that are better than this squad. Every player on the team now, guess what? Arteta signed or extended. So there's no exception there. So to me, it's about getting people that fit your system. It's not about names. We didn't know who Gabriel was. We didn't know who Martinelli was.
Yeah.
We identified who thought would help us
And
the style that we wanted, and it did. But now, we did 2 things. I'll give us a grade for May. You can do it for inept, which I think is probably the most.
I for inept. Is that what you're doing?
Yep, I for inept.
Spencer,
We were worse than IF, so we get an I.
Spencer said, do we know who our number 1 targets even are? Or are they the media targets that are being touted for
It
our,
should be a central forward.
Yeah.
Which one though? Like what?
It doesn't matter, Gary.
Yeah, but no, it has to matter because that's the
Your
problem.
voice, your voice.
Tony doing his best
My voice
rock
came
impression
back.
there. I love it.
My
It
voice
doesn't
came
matter.
I think McAllister is a very tidy player for Liverpool. Would you guys take McAllister? I'm very happy with him. If we
Who,
sign
Gary?
him, we need a 6.
Gary
though.
McAllister. I
Who?
no.
No, that McAllister at Brighton. So
I think he's going to Liverpool, isn't he?
yes, he's gone. And Revanite is a Liverpool fan here.
And isn't the other one they're interested in? Is it Ferguson?
No, Mason Mount.
No.
No,
I thought
Ferguson
Liverpool
I heard Ferguson also is on.
or Man
Evan
U.
Ferguson.
Man U or someone's
He
interested
should probably
in him.
stay at Brighton to develop for another year.
Definitely.
I don't think they're going to let go of him at all. You know what I mean? I just think gun, Gary, the age profile doesn't suit what we need.
You know what? Well, you keep saying that, and then we went out and just got Jorginho. So obviously,
18 months ago.
it isn't really
Contract
that
length.
hindrance. It's not that
Contract. I
hindrance.
agree with Gary.
We
The
just did it.
contract length is all right.
We just did it to back up our other 30-year-old. So obviously, that we actually need.
Okay, but we have now we have 5. If we get gun, we got 6 midfielders.
Yeah, let's get rid of Jorginho and get in an even
what I
older
mean?
guy.
We have a lot of midfielders over the age of 30. It's
We
like
can't close the deals on the
Logan's
ones
run
we
in
want. So what's
midfield.
the point? So once again, give me the number 1 targets, and then we can talk.
yeah.
But we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Most transfer rumors are agents leaking information for better deals and negotiation leverage. And everybody forgets agents, are involved in all of this as well. Sporty J,
I make
Eunice
too much
Musa
goddamn money.
has Arsenal kit DNA.
Let's talk about Man U, innit? Being interested now in Declan Rice. So bidding war. I mean, we talk about. I sent you that thing, didn't I, Ray, about Caicedo and Declan Rice. I do think it has to be for me one or the other. I don't think we need both because they are playing in the same position. You get one of them to come in to complement a Partey. I don't think Partey should be shipped out yet. Players do go out of form. Players can come back into form. Obviously, if the off the pitch stuff, if there's any validity to that, that will probably make its own decision on whether he's an Arsenal player, allegedly, and all that crap. But I would say, putting that aside, bringing one of those two to complement a Partey, and then bring in a more attack-minded midfielder to take up Xhaka's place. Someone that has more of an instinct when it comes to assisting or taking the shot, who's a little bit more quick thinking in that area, I think would be better than a Caicedo and a Rice.
Yeah, and I do think we'll be very lucky.
I can't choose between them though. That's the thing. I can't.
Yeah, I
Rice.
think we'll be very lucky to get both Rice and Caicedo.
Too much for that position.
Yeah, and it could be a double pivot
unless Partey is going. Do you know what I'm getting at? Unless Partey is going, then I get that. I get it. Well, but I think we should be maybe adding to Partey.
I would even add them.
I
would add them to Partey because Partey, okay, he cannot play 38 games in the league, let alone
he shouldn't have to.
Games.
Shouldn't have to.
Well, he's not going to be able to do it.
If Rice comes in, he starts.
Yeah.
So Partey goes to the bench, right?
There may be even some games where you could play the both of them. One could exchange for the other during the game. You could start with a double pivot, different competitions. I think they both get a lot of game time. And maybe when you've got someone of an equal or as good as quality, you get a longer period out of a Partey because you're not relying on him so much. Plus, he's got a bit of competition. So when he does get on the pitch, he wants to show what he can do to get picked ahead of the other chap.
Yeah. Spencer says Ilkay Gundogan wouldn't want a stopgap move. At 32, he probably wants a 3-year deal somewhere. Might be an MLS move. And I think he may go to a German. I think Ilkay Gundogan could go to a German club for a couple of years. And then at the age of 34, 35, play a season or two in the MLS as well.
That's what I think. I just see BX is talking about Neves. Apparently, Neves, there's been an approach to Neves already, I was hearing today. But he says no, because apparently he's waiting. He's doing a Rafinha. He's doing a Rafinha. Barcelona, he says, are coming in for him. So that's not on the table, apparently.
It does seem heartening that we are about to play our final game on Sunday, but there's already talk about we're going to move fast in this window.
We have to. We cannot. We cannot.
I agree.
We cannot go into those summer trips without some big names on the squad list.
I will tell you.
We've got the money. Everyone knows we've got the money, which is the problem. And I was just reading the other day, and I didn't know this. Do you know how much you get for finishing second in the Premier League?
Yes,
156.
No, it's 113.
I said 156.
It might be a currency.
I don't know what the currency exchange, but it's 156. And still over 100 mil. So
and it wasn't a lot of difference between second and first. I noticed it was something like 10 million between that place. But that's a good chunk of change. So we're going to get that coming in. Remember, we were self-sustaining outfit, so that goes into the kitty. We've got money. Oh, I would imagine we've got money for qualifying for the Champions League. That raises what we can do. And the Cronkies have always said, haven't they, that the money that is made available depends on what we qualify for. You get more money if you qualify for the CL than you do for the Europa. So we've got a lot of money. The problem is everyone knows it.
But you know what? They would know it anyways, based on the fact that it's a surprise. The problem is that we will spend too much time, so then people know that we're gonna haggle with them, and they know this.
See,
right? And
I've heard already we've put a bid in for Rice for 70 million, which to me sounds low.
This is not.
Why are we letting other teams get in? Why do you want to wait to the third negotiation and let people in? I was under the impression that we were putting in a bid of 92 million, which I thought, okay, that sounds reasonable. But I've heard it's 70. Maybe, it could be 70 in cash with 20 odd in and bonuses. I don't know, but
we're heading into silly season, 4 or 5 days before.
I know that's why
Final
Fabrizio Romano's name is muted. I don't see any of that. I listen to Charles Watts because I enjoy him, but I don't want to get caught up in it. I'm not going for another Mudrick. Not for another Mudrick.
Like a lot of Arsenal fans are going to switch off, right? Spencer's kind of ready for a break, to be honest. I will tell you, Gary, last season, Gabriel Jesus came to Arsenal July 4th, and Zinchenko came July 22nd.
Yeah, and they were on the trip. He was on the trip when they came to America, right?
Yeah.
We need
So,
like the only way those deals happen is if we get them before they go on vacation. You know what I mean? Or just when they come back, because we really and truly we have too many things. They have too many things to do, right? I mean, I was looking at it like there's potentially like 10 players that need to leave, right? That need to be sold and moved on, and some of them will bring some money in. And some of them just need to go because we shouldn't be wasting their time and our time. So yeah, we got a lot of work to do, but we need to get our number one targets in and not be, hopefully we're not so concerned that, we have to, we can't make this particular, purchase because we have a player in that spot already who we're not going to play anyways. You know what I mean? So that can't be it, so. Yeah,
Spencer, as someone who negotiates for a living, if you're to spend 90 million, you don't start your position at 90 million. 70 would be a starting point.
But then would that 70 million be 70 million, or would that be X amount with add-ons, which comes up to 70 million? I don't know how these things work, right?
Mm-hmm.
My only worry is that we drag our feet and then it allows somebody to come in when we've done most of the groundwork, because we've seen it happen all too often with Arsenal. Yeah. If you've got a number one target, get number one target and then negotiate for the others, right? I don't know.
Our 70 mil offers don't go up enough to get anywhere close to the 92. You know what I mean? If it's 70 at the end of the day, like we'll go 70 and 75, and that's not going to change anybody's decision whether or not they're going to accept it. Especially when the number sounds like 90. It was 120 at one point, and people are like, that's not really true. But the problem is that Arsenal will not. When they bring in their second bid, the second bid is not significant enough to sway them to say yes.
Question: what do you think we should be paying for a Declan Rice? I know it's not our money. I know West Ham said 120 million, and they're probably looking at that Enzo Fernandez guy and basing it off that. But what do you think we should be paying?
I think he's pretty important to what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna have to spend.
Close to 100.
We're gonna have to play. We're gonna have to do. I believe we're gonna have to do that, or else because we're not good at the scouting thing, right? We're not, like, if you look at Brighton's lineup, you go, how much did they spend on all those players? And it's like nothing. I mean, they didn't spend 100 for all those players that they have. Well, that means our scouting is terrible, and when you compare the two, we're not out there getting those players. Because every time we get a player that doesn't fit, they eventually have to go. So I kind of feel like if we're not going to do the scouting, then you're just going to have to go and pay and get a player that can play for you, as opposed to one you eventually then turn around and go, you know what? Nah, it's not going to work.
We're not in the same. We're not in the same field as Man City when it comes to buying players. Jack Grealish for 100 million. I think Rice for us would be more important than Jack Grealish is to Man City.
They didn't need him to play in the first season. If you look at, they bought 100 mil for a player in the second year. We can't spend 100 mil on a player.
Rice is going to be more important to us than Grealish is for them. In my opinion.
A lot of people saying 75 to 80.
Yeah.
So how much would you pay for Caicedo? The same?
Is he worth the same?
Is he worth more?
They said no to that. They said no to those numbers in January. So there's no way they're going to say yes.
If you say 75 or 80 for Declan Rice, then you're probably 10 million lower for Caicedo.
But he was going for more in January, so you think it went down? even though he just
No, I'm just saying.
renegotiated?
I'm
No,
just
but I'm just
saying.
saying, like,
But maybe his
it doesn't.
contract is nearer to be run down.
If
so
if
that does
BX
affect- I don't know.
if
I don't know.
BX says 75 for Rice, then I'm sure BX says about 65 for Caicedo. If
But he
Spencer
was
says
going
80,
for over 70
I
in
know.
January.
I know,
So
but that's
what
your
I'm saying is
opinion.
the numbers don't match. They're
Yeah.
not going to go down. They've shown their worth, and they're worth more than they were when we went for them in January.
So,
Who would you
BX, let me
prefer?
know if you rate Caicedo more. Do you think Caicedo would be? Why would Caicedo be worth more than Declan Rice?
Just everyone as well. Who would you prefer if you had to make one choice out of one of those two?
It
Who is
isn't worth more. It's because if you set Rice at 70, right?
Mhm.
But Caicedo, we were going to pay around that, if not more, and they said no in January. So
we
the
don't know
number
what
that number
happened.
isn't going to. We don't. Okay, so then we're bringing up a number. It was
Brighton
it was
said
in
they
the
were
report,
not going to sell to us for any price in January.
but we supposedly had put in some offers. And
Yeah.
they said no.
We probably pissed them off, Gary. We did
It
probably piss
doesn't-
them off.
Yeah, but
Our
you don't do
negotiations.
He's
things.
not left on his contract.
Who cares? It's a negotiation.
It's expired.
Just because somebody says no,
They
and you're
have
like,
an
well,
option.
is it really this? Yeah.
But if
I
his
have an
contract is
option.
now down to
Okay.
a year, and they
So-
said no before, and it's run down,
That's
We need-
right
let's
there. Just
see-
go and spend $100 million on their scouting and development team, and then we
Let's
don't
see,
have to
down
spend.
to zero.
Just for Tony's voice tonight, let's be conscious of when he puts his arm up. He's a special guest tonight. He has the mic at all times. Tony,
But why would you pay that? I was gonna say it anyway. All they have is an option. His contract will expire June 31st if they don't trigger his
who? Caicedo?
extension. Rice.
Rice.
We already overpaid for Jesus
Well,
You
we're
think
not
we
going to.
overpaid
because
for
he had
Jesus?
6 months. He had 6 months.
But Tony, we're not going to be the only
50
team.
million for 6 months.
We're not going to be the only
42
team
million.
interested in Declan Rice. You know? So we have to strike. We have some advantages being in London. He obviously apparently doesn't want to leave London. He's not too much interested. He's looking for a good club to move to within London. We happen to be in a better situation than Chelsea right now.
He's also said that Emirates is his favourite stadium. He really admires Mikel Arteta. There's the London factor.
There's
The money that we're going to
Saka.
offer him, like, financially, is not a lowball offer. So it's all set up for him if that's what the player wants, right? If the player, it doesn't matter who comes in for him, if that's what he wants.
And like he has a great relationship with not Caicedo, with Bukayo Saka and the English boys in the camp as well, Ramsdale. So there's a lot of things that Declan Rice would like about Arsenal. Make no mistake, if Chelsea were second and we were 12th,
Who do you prefer, though?
obviously he's going to Chelsea. You know what
Who
I
do
mean?
you guys prefer? If you had to choose one, because
I have said Rice. I've said Rice. I know
Really?
you and Gary have said Caicedo.
I'm not sure.
You're changing your mind now.
You know what? I don't think you can go wrong with either one. But if it's about the numbers, you just go whichever one's the cheapest for you. You know, it's not going to be that cheap, but whoever's cost the less, because you're going to get a player either way, and it's going to be in a position that you need anyway. So
You know what,
get
Gary?
one of them, and then move on to the next thing. But you
Multiple.
need to get your number.
Nketiah does look good at right back, doesn't he? He does
Multiple
look like that.
positions.
Caicedo looks like he can play that inverted position very well.
Declan Rice can step into the central defending as well. He's defended before. He's played as a central defender before. Caicedo can play in that right back position. We know about that, Gary. He played against us at the Emirates and played well. And I think it was noticeable that day that they had Estupiñán and Caicedo to cancel out our wingers on that day on the Emirates. And, Roberto De Zerbi is able to has been shuffling his squad around as well. So these are things that Arteta needs to learn. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we always keep. You're saying Caicedo as a right back, but he's not. He's a CDM, right?
Yeah, but he can't. It's multi-position. He can play as a right back.
Yeah, I don't believe in any of that crap until I see it.
You
When's the
saw
last
it.
time
Rice,
You saw it.
Rice
you
is
don't
the
see
same.
no at Arsenal, because we keep
Rice,
talking about this versatility and we barely see it. Trossard can play anywhere on the front line, but for some reason he can't play.
Rice can play center. Either
Trossard
center.
has played.
Until we actually implement that, then yeah, I'll go with it. But we keep saying it and we never see it. We keep saying Zinchenko can play in the midfield. We never see it. Tierney's healthy.
Zinchenko, well, he's been
He moves
playing
up. He moves up into the
in that
midfield,
position,
but he
yeah.
can play in the midfield, right? Tierney's healthy. You can do that if you really wanted to. We don't do
Here's
it.
the thing.
Right?
Spencer's backing me up. I mean, I think there was a point where maybe we could have gotten Caicedo. We turned the player's head, and then Brighton were categorical about it. They were not selling Caicedo because probably they did not upgrade their contract. A few days later, after the Arsenal situation with Caicedo, they give him a new and improved contract ready for the summer, so that when the big boys come now this summer,
You think the number that we were going to spend is any different than what we want to spend now? We would have spent 80. We would have spent 80 in January because we were going to spend 80 on Mudryk. So I don't think the number. I don't think his contract had anything to do with it, right? Because we're saying we'd probably not want to spend more than 80 on him anyways, right? And I believe we had 80 to spend.
Well, what they did, Gary, is they gave him some more money to keep him happy, and he would play for a move this summer. So Caicedo didn't go away after January in terms of his form. He kept playing.
Yeah.
Brighton probably told him, keep playing, do well for the team, and you'll get your move in the summer. You know, after his head clearly got turned by Arsenal. Tony?
Well, with Rice hands in the transfer request or buys out his extension.
The thing with Declan Rice is it's been well documented, and I believe he's done it really well. He hasn't kicked up a fuss at West Ham. He's been one of their best players throughout the years. West Ham fans for 3 or 4 seasons now have been resigned to losing to him for a high fee.
And he started scoring more since he's been linked with Arsenal.
Yeah. He has gone up a level as well. And they have a final, conference league final to play against, I think it's Fiorentina, an Italian team, which I think it might be difficult for them. But, Rice has been playing well as this talk of a move for him has increased this summer. So, Tony, I think he's done things right and respectfully for West Ham. And West Ham are going to make some money out of the deal. So the player's going to take care of his childhood team.
It's ridiculous to me. 70 million when you can give a guy in January, sign a pre-contract, bring him in next summer for free.
But we don't. We need somebody tomorrow. We don't need somebody next year.
But also, West Ham are interested in 3 of our players, right? Balogun was one. Reece Nelson, and who was the other one? Was it Lokonga?
Sambi. Yeah, Lokonga.
If we could work all 3 of those into the deal, that would be quite smart. That would be very canny if that's possible.
Yeah, Brighton stated they were not selling Caicedo. At one point, they did say that. I mean, I think Edu did something. Edu did something to upset them, and we hope the relationship with Brighton is still there because
they're our feeder club.
They are our feeder club, and Brighton have an interesting situation. We might talk briefly about teams throughout the league as well. They have an interesting situation next season. I do believe they have a decent squad that they can go into the Europa League and do quite well, but it may upset their. They're not going to come 6th or 7th next season. They'll be mid-table probably. That's my opinion on Brighton. They're going to go into Europe. 00 Slice X is here. Welcome. Ideally, I'd hope we wouldn't pay more than 70 for Rice, but this is football. The fear is if we spend 100 million for Rice, what do we have left to spend? Remember, we need a lot more than just the CDM. And David Moyes is going to get the best price he can for West Ham, and it's not going to be done easily. And it probably won't be 70 million. It'll be between those 2 figures, 70 and 100, in my opinion.
David Moyes wants the players the board people, they're looking for more cash and as much cash up front. I want Moyes to go for the players. If it offsets what we play out, it leaves more. It leaves more in the kitty for other places. Because as Gary says, we need a lot of players. No matter who we bring in this window, it's still not going to be enough to complement what we have to battle against with City. We won't be there yet.
I would lean towards Caicedo to add some steel into the lineup. He's definitely got that. Sporty J's going for Yves Bissouma.
You know, he's got. You know what? He's got that stink on him right now, and it takes a lot. It's like a skunk. He needs like 100 baths in like tomato juice, whatever it is.
Let's not forget. Last season, Tottenham won the transfer window. Everybody was saying they got Bissouma, they got Richarlison. You know, Tottenham won the window.
And that's the problem. Like how much did Bissouma cost, right? How much did Bissouma cost?
That's what people were saying, Stan.
Yeah.
The pigeon.
25, Gary, 25 million.
So 25 for him, and I think we could have used him. We would have used him a lot better than they did. And he would have had Partey sitting in front of him to show him the way.
I don't know. He didn't do so well at Tottenham.
It's not. You can't look at a stinky thing and then go, well, the whole thing just stinks over there. It smells.
Chris is here. Welcome, Chris. West Ham have the option to extend the contract by 1 year, which they 100% will. And that boost the price if they do that, right? It will. It'll push the price up.
His contract ends this year. They're extending it a year.
Okay, they're extending it a year, so which will enable them to get a decent.
I imagine someone like Declan Rice, who's his name is revered at the club, is captain and whatever.
He want to do the best for England.
He's going to want to do he's going to want West Ham to do okay out of it, but he also will want to go to the destination of his choosing.
Yes, exactly. He cares a lot about West Ham. He wants to leave, having West Ham a decent fee, a decent amount of money in their back pocket. Let's not.
It's not 120 million though.
Because West Ham recently in the last 10 games just pulled away from the relegation zone. It's not. It'll be around 100 million. Campbell, good point.
It's ridiculous to me.
The stench is real, Tony.
When you can sign a player for free in 6 months, 100 million.
It's not even that.
Tony.
We need players now. So if they are looking at him, then they need to go get him.
There's no
reason to look at it. We don't do this January stuff anyways. When's the last time you've seen Arsenal go, all right, this player will be coming, he'll be out in June. We'll sign him in January. We never do that. We haven't done it yet since I've been following this team. So I don't see that happening. And even if that was the case, we're not going to get him at that point.
So we have seen a situation with Caicedo. He's an improved contract. He's going to get Brighton get their payday. Declan Rice extending for a year. So West Ham get their payday. Clubs are going to get their money, Tony.
Who did we last did that for? Was it Ozil's bodyguard, or was it
Kolasinac?
Okay, so a starter,
was
a really good starter for Arsenal. A leader for Arsenal, right?
But Tony just used it as a reference point.
What would happen in a situation where you renew the right of contract?
Was it him or was it Zaka?
And then there's a bidding war, but then people pull out, and he's
Zaka, I think. Go ahead, Stan.
I'm just saying, could there be imagine there's a situation where Rice has had his contract improved. People make offers. They don't come up to the asking price that West Ham want. They don't make any more offers, and Declan Rice is still a West Ham player.
I think the money will be there. They will reach a point where West Ham will accept the money and the player will move. Now, it's got to be the Arsenal.
You don't want to keep an unhappy player, do you?
No.
You keep saying it, but they always stay when it's Arsenal. So I don't believe that either. All these like things we talk about, they stay. And sometimes they play just as well. I mean, Caicedo stayed. He played well, right?
Ramsey stayed with us and played well.
So I think a lot of times I don't believe any of that stuff.
So, Gary, your confidence level of Arsenal gaining a Declan Rice or a Caicedo is low.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think so because I don't think they're going to pay the money. They're going to need to pay the money. Yeah, they're going to need to spend the money. I don't think
Arsenal, I think
I don't think you're going to get.
They're
You're
going to
not
spend
going
the
to get
money.
them at market price. You're going to have to pay over.
Mikel's itching
So-
to spend loads of money. He not noticed it. He really wants to drop about 90 million on someone. He's burning to do it. He wanted
Yeah.
it to do it at Mudrick. He wanted to do
Yeah.
it on Caicedo. He's like itching to do it.
You know, Gary, the Cronkies went big for Donaldson, right? And the
No,
quarterback.
Donaldson was a draft, but then
Okay.
Donaldson
And-
was already there. They
Then
had
they
everything
got the
except for the
quarterback.
Yeah, they
They
went.
got the
They paid
quarterback to
for-
realize his talents, right?
Yeah, well, they had to trade it like the number 2
So,
pick in the draft, who was
this
their
could be
quarterback,
like
to go get the one from Detroit Lions. So think
So
about
this could be-
this. This what they did was essentially they went and got a good player from like one of the worst teams in the league, and won a Super Bowl with him.
Mhm.
That's not Kane. That is the guy behind.
Could this
Kane,
be
you know?
Saka? Could this be Saka and Rice, Gary?
But hang on, Gary, are there when they're with their
You know?
NFL teams and all that, their
Yeah.
American franchises,
Stafford? That's right, Stafford.
do they put money in on top of it out of their own pocket, or is it like self-sustaining and what they bring in?
I think the deals. I believe. I don't know if it's. I know in basketball they have the deals have to make sense monetarily. So even if you trade a player and he's worth less, you still have to make it up with either trade or
Now-
picks or cash. So you have.
We
And I
have
think in the NFL it's the same thing. Like if you bring in if you go out and get the top player, you have to make up the difference somehow.
in the cap the
So
salary.
either with
Salary cap.
money or typically with draft picks, because draft picks are worth a lot of money as well.
So what you're
So-
saying is you can get that guy, pay all the money, but then you're now limited on bringing in maybe another 3 or 4. You can maybe only bring in 2 to
Sometimes
balance
yeah.
it up. Okay,
Yep.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah, and look,
NBA's
Tony, are you going to talk about the Nuggets?
NBA's based off revenue.
I
They
thought it was just
have
the
a
way Tony was
minimum.
sitting.
They have a minimum and maximum contract that they have to spend a certain amount, and that's based on total revenue.
My point is
Very easy, very simple, very easy.
my point is the Cronkies went in big for the LA Rams. They're
Yeah.
going in big for the Nuggets, and they're probably I'd say the Nuggets going to win the
Yeah, I was making a comparison to this, and that what they did was they had Goff there, who's their quarterback.
Mm-hmm,
He got them to the Super Bowl. They lost. They turned around. They got Stafford, a veteran. You guys talking about, well, why are we going to go out there and spend all this money on a player who's in their 30s? I believe
Yeah.
Stafford is in his 30s, and they got rid of Goff, and they went to the Super Bowl and they won it. Right. So, like, if you think about it, like some people would say, like Erdogan is our quarterback in the middle of the pitch. They're managing things. That would be like for us saying, Erdogan gets us there, but he won't get us across the line. So we're gonna go out and transfer him.
Declan
another
Rice
player,
would do that, right, Gary?
Bring in another player who might get you across the line. That's
Declan
kind of
Rice in midfield. Declan Rice would be that player. Like I said, it would be that player. They've done it for the LA Rams. They've done it for the Nuggets, and I think they're going to do it for Arsenal. And as Stan said, Arteta has convinced them they're going to go big on a midfielder this season. Now,
Plus, we're getting that second place money. That's a big chunk, man. That wasn't in the plans, was it?
second place money and going into the Champions League, which is going to be guaranteed revenue as well. Chris said Caicedo was on $3,000 a week at Brighton. He signed a new deal for 70.
Wow.
That's why he never moaned. And you
What a
get paid,
payout.
you get a nice price raise, and you stay quiet for a few months and you get your move. It's a stepping stone. He could be as good a player to play for Real Madrid one day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Now, if you think about it, like the Spencers, the Rams won the Super Bowl, whatever, 3 or 4 years ago. Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup a year ago or so. Right now, the Nuggets are in the NBA Finals, waiting on whoever their opponent will be.
Probably
If they
the
were
Heat.
to win it, that would be 3 out of the the 3 biggest.
Is that the game,
trophy.
Gary, where they go into the final and you play 7 games with the other
Yeah.
team?
Yeah.
You play
Who's
best
going
of
to be
7.
their opposition? Who's
It's
the
either going to
opposition?
be the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics.
And how
right
would
now-
the Nuggets? How would the Nuggets do against any of those?
I
They
think
would-
they'll
Have
beat
they
them.
got a chance?
They probably would beat the Heat, but it would be a challenge against Boston, even though Boston right now is down 3-1. So
You're talking about a historical
in their
thing. There with,
conference, in
no,
their
no, like right
conference-
now the
in
way,
their
the way they're
conference
playing,
to
yeah,
win.
like in the semifinals, I guess you can call it, or in the quarterfinals, the semifinals, you've got Miami with 3 wins and Boston with 1. Boston's the number 1 seed, was
Wow.
like one of the best teams in the league.
How many
That
games?
does it. They have-
7
they have-
again.
They have 7, yeah. So
Best
they have
of
the
7.
first to 4 goes on. So
if the Celtics lose tonight, I think they're playing right now. Actually,
oh yeah, they are. They
if
are.
they lose tonight, they're going out. And but I think the Nuggets have been playing really well.
And the other thought to this, the Nuggets,
What about
right?
breakfast cereal?
The Nuggets have, right, one of the best players in NBA, right?
Who's that?
Jovic. So
Yeah.
so that's the thing. When the Rams went, they had some of the best players on their team, right? They had one of the best wide receivers in their team, one of the best defenders
So-
in their team. And basketball, same thing. Like we everybody keeps talking about that world-class player. I think we need to have one of those, whatever it doesn't matter
Neymar.
what position. Just give me one. Well, give me one. I don't know if there's Neymar. I don't think Arteta would even go for that. You know what I mean?
Mbappe's better.
It's more Arteta wouldn't go for that than anything.
Let's get Lacazette back.
Okay, we said world class.
He's
said we're
scoring
black.
in the
Well, we
French.
do need another midfielder.
We said
Tony's
world
friend,
class.
Lacazette.
I still would have took him for a year than being stuck with Eddie for 5.
Look at him, the cracking awakes.
Tony, we don't want to break your voice. We don't want to
You would
break.
take
your
who? Neymar for a year?
Oh
No,
yeah, yeah.
I don't. Lacazette.
It won't be a
Lacazette.
year, right? Because you've got to
He
take
was
that time
used
off
as
for
a
his sister's
striker.
birthday party. So it won't be a
He
year.
was
Do
used
you
as a
think,
striker.
Tony? Do you think Lacazette would obviously have a better season this season if you
No,
still
but if
would
you
have-
think about how we use
You think about it,
Jesus.
Stan.
Think about how Jesus plays. Arteta obviously wants his
Physical.
strikers to go and play all around the pitch.
But like I said, I don't know. He ran out of puff, didn't he? He was like
No,
running around in one of them.
But that's what
deep
Arteta wanted
diver
from him,
suits
right?
While his feet was in treacle.
Why does
That's
Jesus
how
have to do that? Don't we have a good midfield now? Don't we have a good back line now? You've seen him on every line.
We have
Even
a
now.
platform now, Stan. Maybe it could
and
work.
he
but
still is roaming. He's
it's
still all over the
hypothetical.
place.
He's doing it in League 1. You know what I
It's
mean?
hypothetical. It's
Right.
hypothetical, definitely.
I
Steven-
still would have took him.
Stephen has been watching some Spuds channels, and they are in full meltdown. Daniel Levy has taken that club to 8th place or lower, maybe.
Daniel
no
Levy
decent
looks like
manager.
the hood from Thunderbirds. If anyone used to watch Thunderbirds, their nemesis, the hood. That's Daniel Levy, but I digress.
Throw in Kane as well, and they have the perfect storm. And I think it's time for Kane to move. I'm not going to give him any
He's
advice.
not going
but
to do that because he wants to.
his
One,
legendary
I think
status.
he's really,
right?
one, I think he's really loyal to the cause, and he doesn't want to let down the Spurs. Is that what we call them?
He's got his legendary status at that club, and now he needs to go and win things. Kane to Arsenal would send shockwaves, definitely. It'd be like a
When
Sol
Bar-
Campbell
When
moment.
Barcelona comes knocking, offering him 400,000 euros, off he goes.
I mean, Kane could go to United easily. Von
He's
Miller
not
was
gonna
traded
go
to
to
Rams.
So silly question, not silly question, but if we got Kane, would that be a good answer? Because that would answer a lot of the questions we all keep talking about. He's good in the year.
We don't like Kane.
He's scoring. He's
as a
scoring
squad.
20 goals now on a team that is terrible. Imagine on a team like
Sad.
ours who's much better. You know what I mean? So like everything you guys are saying, I'm not saying we're gonna go get him, but because of the nostalgia of it and all of that. But he answers all the questions that we keep talking about. Like Tony says, we need to go get a striker,
Okay, it's
and I
okay.
ask him which one. He won't give me an answer. Kane is
Yeah.
right there. Down
Listen,
the street.
Gary, if we face Man City next season with Saliba and Gabriel at the back, and Saka and Martinelli on the wings, and Harry Kane up front,
Fuck
we
off.
probably beat them. We probably beat City with Saliba and Gabriel mega legs.
One of those
I mean,
Probably
how
beat
can you?
City.
You took their captain.
sign a
You
contract.
took their
Oh, yeah.
captain, years ago, and you didn't feel too bad about that.
No, we'd like. I mean, yeah, Sol Campbell was a little bit less.
I mean, he wasn't as
Less
big as
disliked.
Kane is, but
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? You hate him because he's good at what he does. And
No,
you
I
know, a
hate
lot
him
of
because he
players-
can't fucking speak. That's why I hate him. I hate him because he looks like the son of Bruce Forsyth.
Stan, that's harsh.
No, but you know what? He'll be
It's
your
diving,
whatever.
it's
I hate
Diving.
him because every 90 minutes he plays, 2,000 flies lose their lives. That's
The
why I
man
don't
loves
like
it. The man loves his protein. Let the man eat, man. Let the man eat.
Let him cook. Let him cook. The team receiving the player typically absorb the contract of the player.
Yep.
Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, so,
We
like,
would give Caicedo 150 easy.
I couldn't handle Kane. Can I just say I couldn't? I don't know if I could handle it. Yes, he's a good player. I'm not disputing that he can't play, but every time I watched the game and we won and I cheered for his goals, whatever, as soon as the game's over, I just feel like I'd have to take a shower and just be like,
I know. It would take a little bit of getting used to, you know.
Whereas with Campbell, I loved it. Campbell,
But Stan,
I loved it. But there's
if
something.
he goes to United,
The same with Son as well.
if
I
he
mean, if
goes
we
to
got
United,
Son-
you're not going to
If
like
we got
it.
Son, do you know, we'd have to have so many boxes of Kleenexes in the dressing room for him. It'd just be a waste of money. Sorry.
You're making all these excuses, but you say you what do you want in a player and a striker? Tell me what you want. What do you
One
want?
that can speak.
One that can put it in the back.
That's
of the
it.
net.
That's it. They don't have to really be able to put the ball in the
but
net.
I just
All over
don't
that.
want him. It's just a personal thing. I just don't.
And I
want
get it, but you know what? I'm just like we
I would never get used to it. I tell you what it would be. I tell you what it's like when we were going to look into to sign Luis Suarez. Right, great player, no doubt about it. But I would never have been comfortable with it. I just would never have been comfortable cheering for him. And you know, I'm getting at. I just don't like him.
Stan, if Harry Kane was to move, what club do you think he's moving to? I think it's Man United or Newcastle.
Oh,
If Harry Kane leaves that team, as Gary says.
I think Man United seems to be the kind of profile, you know, for me.
And that will complete the hate index of Man United right there. Gary, Man United.
I know, Man United fans don't want them to sign anyone that will take over from Rashford. That's the thing.
Rashford would play on the wing. Rashford plays on the left side.
Or Garnacho will play there.
Yeah, that kid is. He looks good, Garnacho.
But he's not
good.
starting even now. You think he'll be starting next year?
Garnacho.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
He's not going to start, but he's going to be that substitute.
So he's not there yet, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
let's hold our. I mean, I don't want to hold our horses. I want.
He's
them to
got
burn him out
Martinelli
just
vibes.
because
He's got Martinelli vibes for me, Gary.
Yeah.
Garnacho.
Exactly.
He looked good when he came when he came on today. He looked good. So.
Not sure
But
about
you know
that.
what? But I don't like.
Scored against Villa last weekend.
But I don't like them. So it's almost like this whole Kane thing.
He is good though.
It's just like it smells. Don't like it.
He's good.
Hey, we need to improve our own smell as well. You know what I mean?
You want to guess what his market value is?
Who?
Harry Kane or Garnacho?
Kane.
What is it?
Kane, he is 75 million.
30 million euros.
30.
Harry Kane's is 30 million euros.
That's what happens when you're down to your last fucking year. You're down to a year.
But how much is he going to go for, Tony? That number means absolutely nothing.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Because you know what? Because Grealish wasn't Grealish down to his last year, and he went for 100 or something like that.
Do you see Tottenham selling him for 30 million euros?
No, because
Harry Kane is worth as much as the buying team is prepared to pay for him.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
going to be Gareth Bale money, isn't it? It's Gareth Bale money.
Gary, everyone looks good against Chelsea.
No, I know.
Gareth Bale money.
Garnacho or Garnacho has looked good when he's come on. Period.
Gazpacho.
So. Yeah. So
cold soup. I like cold soup. I don't like cold soup. Gazpacho. Gary, Mason Mount.
Mm-hmm. I keep hearing that his name keeps coming up, but it sounds like he wants to go to. Where's he want to go now?
United are favorites.
Yeah.
It's United, Liverpool, or Arsenal.
I would rather go get Madison. So
yeah,
that's
okay.
That's what I would do. I would rather
do
go
we
get Madison.
feel Mason Mount's ending up at United, Gary?
I don't care as long as we get Madison.
Okay. Okay. Let's.
I don't know.
Really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
Gary, Madison. Yeah. You go get Madison. It kind of means Emile Smith-Rowe gets sold.
We're not playing, and that's the thing. So we don't even know. I guess, like we always say, we don't know, but we didn't see him play this season. So if he was going through that whole Martinelli thing where he's just not ready to play and he's not gonna play him because until he gets healthy, then we'll know soon enough, right? When either new season comes or who they bring in. Because I don't know how a man scored 10 goals for you last season, right? Well, one of your top scorers. So
12 maybe.
Well, I think 10 in the league.
Whatever.
I think it was.
Yeah, he did well. He did well.
So he was one of your top scorers, and he can come off the bench and he can do that, and he can play multiple positions, like we said. So I don't know why we wouldn't want him to stay if he's healthy. Now, if he's not healthy and they let him go, then we know that. But no, I don't know. Emile Smith-Rowe, it's one of those things where we don't know. He's not going to tell us. He shouldn't tell us that. But if he goes, then we just have to bring in somebody. We need to bring in somebody better, and the way that'd be better is either they're established in the game, right? And that's really what we're looking for, because we need somebody. You need somebody that can can put Erdegaard on the bench and not we don't miss him, right? Right now, that's the problem. We always feel like when we go to our bench, we miss the player, and they always are our best player because they didn't play, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, every one of Arsenal's players, starters, when they go to the bench, we always go, well, you know what? If we had, Zinchenko, we would have won. If we had Saliba, we would have won. If we had, Jesus, we would have won. Every time, we barely ever get to say we were able to make do with what we got because we have a good player behind them.
So Mason Mount, I don't rate Mason Mount so much. He may go to United. Stan, you like him?
Yeah, I put him in. I would like to spend money on either a Rice or a Caicedo. Someone, as I mentioned before, to complement a Thomas Partey. But in the Xhaka position, I'd take Mason Mount all day long for about 40 million. I heard a report today that Chelsea want 80 million. That's not going to no, that's too much. But for about 40 million, last season he scored.
Is he free? Is he not free?
No, I think he might have his contract might be a year. Okay. But last season he didn't play all of the games. 24 maybe. I'm thinking 10 goals, 11 assists, or 11 goals, 10 assists. That's not bad involvements. And I think under Mikel Arteta, playing in that left 8, you would see a player that when he gets into the box, he would make the decision quicker to assist or go for goal quicker than a Xhaka. Yeah, I think he's a very good player. I used to hate him at Chelsea. I used to look at him as Frank Lampard's little baby. Little baby, always playing him in that. But he is a good player. And I would, taking my objective hat off and just looking at it as a player, I would take him for 40 million. He would be good for us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the likelihood he's going to end up at Manchester United.
Madison too?
No, Mason Mount. Okay. Now, we were talking about Madison, Stan, while you were away there from your microphone.
I'd put him in. I'd put him into Xhaka's place as well. Yeah.
Now, do you think it's going to be at the expense of Emile Smith-Rowe?
Well, he's not looking that he's going to get minutes. It's going to be interesting to see our last game of the season. We've got nothing to get, nothing to lose. No one can catch us.
We're no man to land.
Is he going to play a few players that he wants to just take that last look at before he makes a decision to validate any decisions he's made?
Or put him in the shop window.
Is he really going to play Xhaka in this last game when there's no need?
Yes, he will.
because he's loyal to the cause,
It's
right?
farewell. It's a
Yeah.
farewell to the Emirates.
Bring him off the
Granit
bench.
You know what's
I mean, can you not bring
interesting?
him
Think about this, right? City, they win their league and they sit a lot of their good players, and maybe they brought some of them on, second half.
Yeah.
Arsenal, Arteta does things backwards. This game means absolutely nothing to
It's
us,
vibes.
right? We said it means nothing to us, so there's no reason to start Xhaka and have him, just have him come on.
Do you know
Late
what I
This
would
is
do?
the part.
Some of those
This
youth
is the-
players that have appeared on the bench throughout the season, like
So-
Walter, I would give them a game. It's the lot, as I say, we've got nothing to get, nothing to lose. These guys have been sat on the bench. Put them in for a half, or put them in for 20 minutes, half an hour, or start them and take them off. Give them something.
Here's another chink or flaw in Arteta's character. It's great that you have a unity within the dressing room, you have a unity around the club, but he's got to be more ruthless. You can't play Granit Xhaka. He will play Granit Xhaka at the Emirates
We've got to
because
take a
it's going to be a send-off for Granit Xhaka. He will do certain things, and he's not ruthless enough. He needs to start being more ruthless.
Hold on, no question.
No. We've seen him
Right.
be ruthless because he's been. You know what? He's
been
ruthless to like half the players.
He's been
Half
ruthless.
the players.
Okay, the other half. No,
Ruthless
He needs
to
to be consistent to everyone.
I will be right
There you
back.
go.
You guys
There you go.
continue this discussion.
He should be able to sit.
There you go, Gary.
Every-
That's it. You're right.
Everyone, he should be able to go, you're not playing today. I didn't appreciate the way you practiced. You weren't good in the last game, and I even asked you, you need to work on some things, and you didn't do it. So you sit, right? He doesn't do that. He basically coddles them, and then they go out there and they do the exact same thing. Why we look at them and go, you know what? They probably should sit out because they didn't look so good last time out
Is he
there.
being ruthless to ESR? Is he being
That's
ruthless?
well,
to
like I
TNA?
said, I hope that's the Martinelli treatment where he's just not healthy, ready, and Arteta doesn't want to put him out there. But I don't understand
Tierney?
why you're on the bench. Why are you on the bench? Tierney's been healthy. How much has Tierney been injured this season?
Martinelli
He's had a
was
couple of
healthy,
bits, but he's been
healthy
he's been
last year, and he
ready.
didn't play until November
So,
after
and you
the
know what?
COVID games.
That is a player that you need. So we're gonna go out there and get what? Another player who does exactly the same thing as Zinchenko, which means late in the game he's gonna get nutmegged for the goal tying score. When you need to actually go in and close this thing down, doesn't make any sense, does it? The logic makes no sense. You need
No.
a player to shut things down. You bring a player on to shut things down, not the same player, right?
My worry is that the players that just changing a little bit, going back to transfers, is that the players that we're being linked with and what it's going to cost us, I think that we're going to still be short in some key areas. Like we need another forward. We need another forward. We can't be playing in 4 competitions with only 2 forwards. If one of them gets injured in the first month,
What
it
are you
can
talking
happen,
about?
right?
We got Nelson. We have Nelson. They're trying
No,
to
I'm talking
renegotiate.
about in that Jesus sort of
Okay.
Eddie Nketiah kind of role. We're one short for sure. We're one short on the wings. We don't need Saka having to play every game for fucking every competition.
Yep.
We've got problems at fullback
Yep.
because Tomiyasu can't stay fit. We've got because he doesn't want to use Tierney, so something needs to happen there.
There'll
And
be
then there's an obvious hole at centre back because there's a huge drop off when Saliba's out. We have to play a double left back with Kivior that doesn't seem to work, and adopt a 3 at the back that doesn't work, or bring in Rob Holding, which it's, as most Arsenal fans say, sacrilege. So we have to move the money around.
Yep. We're right now, based on the way that we finished off this, the way we're going to finish off this season, we really and truly only have a starter and a solid backup in 2 spots.
Okay, question to both of you then.
Yeah.
If you had the money, and we don't know how much it is, and obviously we can't go too mad, but where would you repair? Where are the positions that you think we need to repair?
It's the same problem we've had since from days old. We need to be stronger in the midfield.
Yeah.
We need to be stronger in the midfield, and we need because Partey, like
How
even we
many?
had Partey, we need at least one person to battle Partey for a starting position. It'd be nice
Yeah.
if you had two, but then you also need another midfielder if Xhaka is going to leave. It'd be nice to improve on
So we
Xhaka
could get
if he
away
wants.
with keeping Partey, bringing in a
Yeah.
Casado and a Rice, maybe,
Yeah.
and maybe still keeping El Neni for one more season.
Yeah, and you
as
see,
a
my
patch,
problem with El Neni is no.
as a
No.
patch.
We have no. He cannot be an answer for us anymore.
And Jorginho,
Because he's not gonna. He's not healthy. He's not gonna be healthy enough. The man's
Jorginho will be here next season, right? He's not going to go in the summer.
Yeah, no, I think we got him
Okay.
for. It was 18 months, so we
So
have him for at
Partey,
least a year.
Jorginho, one of Rice or Casado, El Neni,
What
maybe
about right
could
back,
go.
left back, striker?
Yeah. We have
Lots of
every
holes.
like I said, every there's a hole in pretty much everywhere except for was it left center back and
Left wing.
and left wing. That's really it. Everything else there's a reason for us to bring in another player in that spot.
Exactly. I didn't think of it like that.
Partey and Jorginho would work, but we know we need to do better than that.
That's quite stark, right, Gary? Out of 11 players on the pitch, including, you could even say backup goalkeeper, but out of 11 positions, we really still need decent cover for about 9.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of surgery.
Yeah, and like I said last season, we were looking at it. We're like, well, we've got White, so he can back up as a center back, right?
You ain't bringing in 9 players.
Remember how that looked when we moved White to center back? Didn't look so good. And I know Tomiyasu was out, but still, I would have rather put Saka in right back. I know because
is Ben White a centre back or a right back?
What we did.
Where is Ben White's best position? Because I've seen some holes in his right back play.
He's got
His
holes
best,
on both.
He's a better center back.
He works really well with Bukayo Saka down that right side. So I would say that right back spot
really
is
well
best.
in the attack.
Yeah, but he is very decent at defending. He's not brilliant. He's decent. And Saliba
one of those right backs that we talk about from the other teams, right? Like who's City's left and right back? Who are they?
Stones and Ake.
No, Stones is a centre back.
No. But he's playing on the right.
No, but who's their best right back or centre back? Who's their best?
Ake was a centre back.
Kyle Walker too, yeah.
Kyle Walker. We don't have somebody like that. I know he can't play all the games, but that's what we're looking for. And that's not even Tierney, right? Tierney can't play like a Kyle Walker.
So if we bring in not Casado, Cancelo, then does that mean that Ben White now has dropped in as now a reserve right back, or are they rotating? Or because I think Cancelo, there's a buyout clause that Bayern Munich have of 70 million. That's a lot of money, isn't it? We're going to spend 70 million on a right back. Is that what we're doing?
We have a lot of work to do this summer. A lot of work to do this summer.
Yeah, I always say we're like 5 to 10 players away, and we are definitely 5 to 10 players away. So we're going to have to reuse what we have. Like we talk about, like, is Balogun actually? We're going to actually test him out, because if you have Balogun, then that means you have Jesus, Trossard, and Balogun to rotate through.
Eddie,
right? Oh, he plays for us still.
You're not seeing his face on the milk cartons.
No, but for me, like we know the CV's out there for Nketiah.
Here's the thing.
He doesn't offer us. What does he offer? For me, he doesn't offer
just on a big contract
things that Saka, Jesus doesn't. You know what I mean? He doesn't offer the other things.
I agree, but he seems to be locked in. He just signed a big contract, so he seems to be the one that's locked in, right?
Who's that?
4 more years.
Eddie.
Yeah, he's locked in for a while, isn't he?
Don't get Tony started on Eddie Nketiah.
See, this whole see Stephen here. We buy our defenders to be attackers, so we just buy more Trent Alexander-Arnolds. You know, I don't get it, because guess what? They punish you late in games.
Listen, I think Ben White is a decent defender. He's not
at what position?
Right back.
Okay,
but he can play.
Cancelo for you would be a waste then, because we think Ben. I'm just asking. I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but what would you do there? Are you buying someone to be a backup?
I would not bring
Or are
in.
you buying
I would
some-
not bring in Cancelo myself.
Well, then again, remember what we said. We shouldn't be buying backups. We should be buying players that
Again,
are of equal
Bring in
quality.
Fresneda. Fresneda is a good right back,
Fresneda, yeah.
and he's less
I don't know
than
Cancelo's
nothing
like
about him.
30 years
Don't-
old.
I know
Tony,
nothing about him.
Tony.
Can we just do what we should do? The minute. Man,
First
it's
you were
really
saying
simple.
throw in the towel, and now you're saying just do what we
No.
should do.
No, it's really simple. You wait until the final whistles blow Sunday.
Yeah.
You see who's in the final three, who's getting relegated. You call them up, say, I want 2 from this team, 2 from this team, and 2 from Leeds.
Like takeaway.
It doesn't matter. Tanner,
We
it
do
doesn't matter what 2. Just send us 2.
Just get
No,
your,
we're
number.
gonna take
Yeah.
Tyler
No,
Adams.
we didn't. We
We'll
did
take
not
Tyler
We're
Adams.
getting
lose.
like 6 right backs. They'll send us like 2 right backs.
We didn't lose because of our first 11. It's because we don't have depth. You buy those quality players on the cheap. You fill your squad up. Then
So
you
we
can
didn't-
say,
But when you say
where do we
Tony,
really need a target?
but when you say we didn't lose because of our first 11, is there not an argument that could say, well, maybe our number 9 didn't put enough goals in the back of the net? Is there an argument to say that maybe our left back leaves a massive hole? I'm just playing the devil's advocate that we've got an okay first 11, but there is still work to be done in the first 11, let alone getting to that stage where our people on the bench aren't second stringers, they're of an equal quality.
You know
Where
what,
we've got, you know what I mean? Yeah, if we're following the blueprint.
but it always comes
Yeah,
down to. But it always comes
He
down
asked
to.
me, Gary. Not you. You asked.
You're
He
just gonna
asked
say-
me.
Bloody hell, I thought Tina Turner had croaked, but there you go. She's still alive.
Rest in peace, Tina.
But me and Stan both said that Jesus isn't a number 9. A lot of us are in agreement. We would have won the title if Jesus didn't come back, if you kept Trossard out there.
I never
'Cause
said that.
he's a winger. That's why we don't need to buy a winger. Jesus can play either wing.
Good point. That's a good point.
But you know what? All of that doesn't
point.
matter if we don't ever do exactly what you just said. We don't rotate our players and we don't switch them up to give other players a rest. So for me, this whole versatile thing absolutely means absolutely nothing because we never use it.
But
We never use
how
it.
long?
We could
How
even
long
get
during-
away. Sorry, Tony.
How
Go
long
on,
is
Tony.
Arsenal to give Arteta?
Well,
October.
that's the other part too. Are they actually watching these games going?
This
Well, you went out there, you got
I-
Trossard, you got
I was
Jorginho. Then guess what? You never used them in the situations that I feel you could have used them in to close out games. Trossard played much when Trossard started. Where did he sit? He sat right in the middle, right? Played more of a false most of the time, right? Right.
His
And we
best
won
position for us.
7 games that way, right? And then you're like, okay, so then you win. How do you win Player of the Month and then you never get another start for like 6 or 7 games? How in the world can you? No, you went undefeated for a month.
Gary's starting up now.
We can-
Now
Let go
you
by
can't-
it, Gary.
Revving up.
can't play for us
Yeah.
anymore.
Let
Let go by it,
I-
Gary.
I get like, okay, maybe he doesn't start in that position every game, but the
He's right,
man
though.
never started a game. He watched his team go from first to second by the time he got onto the pitch and got a start.
Things
Can I
were
just say
going
something? Can I
well.
just come on the back of what Tony said?
Gary-
Can I just say, Tony made
Yeah.
an excellent point with if we were really clever about what we were doing with the money that we've got, as well as the midfield, we would buy another someone in that 9 position, someone that's maybe a bit more powerful. I always say Vlahovic. Doesn't have to be him, but I'm thinking of that profile. And you have Jesus. Doesn't mean that Jesus can never play there again. Jesus can put himself into a valid position where he works with Saka and comes on for Saka sometimes, and he also rotates in that number 9 position when needed. And I just wonder that because we've never tried him there, I still think that. Do you think there was a conversation that? Because you have to remember, he's not a cast off of Man City. They wanted to keep him, but he said that he wanted to do something else, and I think that he's got that Theo Walcott syndrome where he really sees himself as a 9, and wants to play as a 9, which will help him to play that position for his country. And when he was talking to whoever he was from Arsenal, and they said that they wanted him, I've got a feeling that he may have said something like, yeah, I'm happy to come to Arsenal, but wherever I go, I want to play here. And maybe Arsenal said, yeah, don't worry about all that because you've never tried it. But I think it would make him even more valuable to us if he did do that, because I've seen him be productive from the right-hand side.
From the wing, exactly.
We did it.
And-
We did a sub. He would play on the left, one to Eddie through the middle.
And with
That
all
worked
that being
fine.
said, he grabbed 10 goals this season as well. If he'd had a full season, another 12, 13, 14 games in a season, he could have gotten closer to 20 goals this season.
But you know what? We had at least 2 or 3, probably even 4 players that could have got 20 goals this season.
Yes.
I mean,
Now,
easily the way.
we're-
So I think the problem is that they needed to get a little bit of mental, physical rest, whatever you want to call it. And they never did, so they had to just play through their down point time as opposed to maybe sit out a game and come in late or something like that.
and I said
I
at the
have to
start,
play devil's advocate as well, that as much as I'm calling to get someone in as a number 9, a more powerful player, the other side of the coin is, by doing that, does that mean that players like Martinelli, Odegaard and Saka get less numbers because we're trying to play in a different way? We're maybe
No.
trying to play through that player. Did you know what I'm getting at?
yeah, I know, but it shouldn't change what
How many
what
crosses
they've
did we
done.
put into nobody? That happens. So I don't think that's a problem. We're putting those crosses in right now. There's just nobody there, or we're putting them in, and Jesus isn't getting them anyway.
When did we
So
sign nobody? That player,
So-
nobody.
Not
When did we
getting-
get him
no,
from?
but we
Jesus is not getting on the end of them. That's
So
what Gary's saying.
So we're playing
No,
a
no.
certain way without
Yeah.
the
I have
players. So
I listen. We've conceded more goals than we care to concede this season to be successful.
And before
but-
Saliba went out. Do not use Saliba as
yes,
an excuse. We were
and
bad
before
before he
that.
went.
And this thing, Tony, we'll talk about a little bit later, pragmatic versus progressive. We talked about this earlier in the season. But Gary, I said at the start of the season, for this thing to work, we needed to have 5 players breach 10 goals for a season. 15 maybe, if we're doing well. We've only had 4 really. So we have scored a lot of goals this season, but we needed maybe a few more given what we were conceding as well.
well, if you don't play other players, it's really hard to get those 5 players that you're talking about. Who is going to be that 5th player? We don't play them enough.
Trossard.
We don't play them enough.
Granit Xhaka.
He is not going to get you 10 goals consistently. Like no. So stop.
Yeah, who else would be the
No,
candidate?
but
Eddie
Trossard-
Nketiah. Eddie
He-
Nketiah.
He got the games, and we saw what happened there.
Yeah.
He didn't. He got like 4 or 5 goals, I think.
So we didn't really have
like-
that player, did we, Gary?
But I don't think we needed that. We how many games did we look at when we go back? How many sitters did we miss? How many opportunities did we miss for shots and to get goals? So we're getting the. I don't think our scoring is an issue. Our problem is we
Defending.
break down in the same areas that we've broken down the last 4 years. Partey is we don't have a solid backup behind him. Center back, we don't have a center back behind our
Mhm.
center backs right now that is worthy to
We
start
know.
for us on a consistent
So,
basis.
Let's
So
go.
Yeah.
We didn't have that 5th player, right? We seen him last year. We seen him come off the bench. He has my number 10 shirt.
Emil Smith Rowe.
As I said, we don't play them.
He's
I
been
keep
injured.
you're not listening to me. We don't play those players. It's really hard to get those numbers you're talking about when they don't play.
Yeah.
They don't
Fair.
play, so they can't get those numbers.
If you have 4 forwards in a team of 11, you have 4 forwards, 2 wingers, your creative player, and your striker, and you don't rotate them, you don't see a 5th. You don't see a 5th member of the Beatles. You don't see a 5th
How many
member
games
getting
did we go through
Steve Best.
where like either
Pete Best.
Erdegaard didn't
Best,
take
yeah.
the shot, or Saka was looking off, or Martinelli was off, or Jesus couldn't hit a barn door? And how many times did we see the next game that one of them sat? Never.
Not many. Yeah.
The only time they sat
Yeah.
is when we had an injury.
So
Right. The only reason why we saw Nelson come in and score 2 goals is because we had an injury early in the game, or else he wouldn't have got all those minutes.
mhm.
Right? Like he
Yeah.
comes in, he does that, and then Arteta goes, "Oh, that was fine, cool, very good, thank you very much, Saka. You ready? All right, good. You're back in. Come on. I mean, you're never gonna grow your squad if you can't take advantage of when somebody's hot.
So
and
what
feeling
you're
good about
telling us,
themselves.
Gary, we should sack Arteta because that's the only way
Same.
players in a good time.
listen,
You know, every time somebody talks about what's going on and what didn't happen in the game, for me, it always turns back to Arteta didn't do this
let
or
me
that.
let me go to
Let
Stan
me-
on this.
Come on,
Stan,
Gary,
uh,
hang on.
we got
Gary,
a question
come on.
for you, Stan.
Gary, come on. It's not Arteta that done what Partey did and trying to flick a ball over. It's not Arteta that was Odegaard and passes the, you know what I mean? You have to look at some of the players on the pitch as well. And what I'm saying is,
No.
I'm saying that if we're laying blame as to why we didn't win the league, there are 3 reasons. 1, we were up against Man City. 2, that some of the players made mistakes at vital times that cost us. And 3, the manager has a part to play because he's done some in-game management which has been questionable and at times. You know what I mean? It's quite shared out.
I think
No, but you know what? We blame everybody else. We never ever blame Arteta. That's the
no,
thing.
no. What do you
did.
think Stan and I have been doing?
A lot of
tonight?
times, you know, I'm not saying you.
Okay.
I hear a
Okay.
lot of times
But
everything that all these things were the cause, but they never say Arteta, even though
What?
it's
Who's they?
definitely
First of all, who's
implied.
they? Hang on. First of all, who is they?
There's people here on other channels.
Twitter,
Okay,
Twitter.
I would say the
Twitter.
opposite. I would say there's another group of people that always blame just Arteta. It
No,
goes both ways.
I blame the whole entire system is broken, right? We need to fix different areas of it. But I also
We're
broken now,
feel like
hang on.
we will name people, we will name players, right? We
The
will name
system is
Edu.
broken.
But
Hold on.
it's when I say broke, okay, it's not necessarily broken, but it's not working. It's not clicking on all 100%.
But we've
It's
gone
not
from
tuned.
8th to 52nd.
Yeah.
From 8th to 52nd.
To be
That's a good trajectory, man.
Yeah.
8th to 52nd. And the people that are keeping us out are in the midst of a financial doping scandal, allegedly. And
I'm not gonna. No, I don't think any of that had a reason why we drew 3 games in a row.
And they have a
How
much
we
stronger
lost to
team
Brighton,
than
how
us.
we lost to Northampton,
I'm just
how
saying,
we lost to
they have a much
Everton.
stronger team than
Those
us.
are all, you
And
know,
have a much more
we didn't
experienced
have to
manager.
play City. We didn't
That's
have
3.
it's
There's
a-
3 parts to this, Gary. 3
Yeah.
parts to
But
this.
your part is valid,
And-
Gary, but it's not the
Yeah.
only part. Your part is
Yeah.
valid. When when we made those stupid games against, I give Liverpool a pass. We got a draw, but the ones after that, in between to the Man City game, you're right. We
We're all
shot
annoyed
ourselves in
about
the
that.
foot. You
like
are
Everton,
right, Gary.
like for me, like
Don't
the Everton
disagree.
game, right? When we played them,
I
that
don't disagree.
we can't let new manager bounces be the reason why we lose.
We've also,
And then the Brentford game, we're up
Yeah, I
1-0,
agree.
and you have Jorginho there, and you don't bring him in to close out the game.
We've also,
See what
on the other
happens,
side of
right?
the coin, in defense, we've also received apologies from fucking the PMGL or or whatever it is. There's things to take in. There's lots of little factors, but
There's
I'm not
lots of-
disagreeing, Gary. You're right in what you're saying, but it's not the sole.
No. There's like I said, like, and that's why I say it's a system isn't work. Is it
Systematic
finally
failure.
tuned? Because every
down.
the
It's a
three
Chop
parts are all like not
3-headed
in
monster,
tune,
right?
Yeah.
The 3-headed monster.
But I would have to say though that right now, for where we are, I truly believe that we have the right manager for what we are doing. He has belief and a good relationship with the owners. He has belief and good relationship with the players. He's being financially backed. There is a caveat though, that he has made some bad management mistakes during some games, and I'm not going to defend it, Gary.
Yeah.
I've been defending Arteta far more this season. I said it before. There were some things I defended him on. I knew they were flimsy. I knew there were flimsy defenses in some of these podcasts, but I was trying to maintain a positive outlook because it's one of the best seasons that I've seen this challenge for the title in so long. However, that last game against Nottingham Forest, there is no defense. You can't defend the indefensible. And I would lay 90% of what happened, of what the problem was, at Arteta, and then 10% at the players. Arteta, he set us up to fail. It wasn't working. And then the stubbornness, I don't know what he said at half time, But what did he do? Shout at them and say they weren't doing it right? I don't know. But he didn't send them out with any changes. He sent them out in the same way, and that was stubbornness.
You know, the one thing I would always say is I don't feel like I don't need any of these kind of learning exercises to figure out how to do why I did something wrong. You know what I mean? Like
I
we always have
agree.
to find it. We always have to find out the hard way. And I'm like, I
I
don't really
agree.
want that learning experience. I really want to just power through what we got going on right now, so we don't have, you know. And then because you've learned all of these things that we're seeing now, they've already happened. We've seen those things, so we shouldn't
Gary,
be repeating ourselves again.
it's
We should
hard.
just be powering through.
It's hard to convince ourselves if we had been at our best that we could have beaten City.
I don't care about beating City's face head to head. That's not the ones
No,
that I'm concerned
I
about.
don't either. I'm not talking about City head to head. If we had, okay, look at the table. We're what are we 7 or 8 points behind now as it stands. If we'd have won the last 2 games, we'd still be a point behind.
How many points were we ahead by, right?
8.
The terrible thing is, though, is that we laid
8.
Ghosts to rest. We gave Liverpool good games. We done Tottenham at White Hart Lane. You know, we've done good with Manchester United as well. But then we shot ourselves in the foot with teams that we should have been able to, you know.
2 points against Southampton. 2 draws.
Oh, that is
Now
the
three-headed monster. Yes, Stan and I have recognized Arteta needs.
I know
to
why it
improve.
happened. I swear to God, I know why it happened. The problem was that after the Liverpool game and in between the Manchester City game, that's when Mikel should have done rotation. But we've already discussed that he doesn't trust the backup because they're not as equal quality. There's a big drop off. So he was reluctant to go to them. And that could have cost us. Maybe when we have better reinforcements of an equal quality, he will go to the bench and it won't cost us. But if there was a time to try and rotate, it was after Liverpool and before Man City, so that going to Man City, you have your best 11 as fit and fresh as you can.
He brought in Fabio Vieira.
Messed it up, and
you know what? That right there is why you need to not talk about him rotating, because that's not now.
You're the one who's talking about rotating, not me.
Not him.
Fabio Vieira, come in.
No, that is if that's what you're bringing to
I'm
the
telling
case,
you what happened. I'm not
your
saying
client
right.
is going to jail. If your answer to the question is Fabio Vieira rotated in, so yes, he did it. No. But that's not. I wouldn't even bring it up because it's not. It doesn't carry much weight. It's like
teabag,
really light.
My question is when I look at that, I think to myself, what does the manager think that by bringing in Teabag, what does he think that he's bringing that Emil Smith-Rowe can't? What are the deficiencies that he looks at that and thinks, I can't put ESR in because his deficiencies are X, but I can put Teabag in. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
That's
what I don't get.
It's ironic that the player that saved Arteta his job, I don't think he was going to get sacked, can't get any playing time.
We were sitting here. Do you remember? Don't even go there, Ray. We were sitting here going.
Do you think he was going to get sacked?
Listen, no,
Gary.
let me finish. I know you were. We're sitting there going, wow, it's Boxing Day, right? Because we had just played City a week or so before that. Got like really terrible in the cup match, right? All right, it's Boxing Day. Oh man, we got Chelsea coming to town. How are we gonna? You know what? I don't know if he's gonna make it to January. That was definitely the thought process for a lot of us because we're sitting there like, how in the world are we gonna? Nah, if we can just get a draw, we'll take it. All right, we'll take a draw. That will show that we're on our way back, and we went out there and we played a really good game, right? And part of that was ESR. So I kind of feel like Arteta does it all the time. Players that seem to, actually go out there and perform don't ever get that trust again when they actually go out there and perform. Like you perform, you don't get the trust, but then you don't. But then another player who needs that confidence, he doesn't give them either that because he doesn't trust them, and it's a double-edged sword, and you kind of lose out.
I have a question for Stan in a little bit, but Gary, do you feel that Stan and I have been generally supportive of Arteta? Generally supportive, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like we call him out?
I would say though that phase that Gary was talking about, because as you remember, I've never said I'm Arteta in or out. I use like a percentage scale thing. There was one point when I was up to about 90%.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think this is the right guy.
Yeah.
He was hanging on by his fingertips, right?
We also have called out Arteta in terms of what he needs to do and the mistakes that he's made. Now, there are 3 parts of this. Stan is correct. There's definitely 2 parts: the players and the manager. And Man City is the environment that we're working in, and we have to be perfect because of that. But we have to recognize the players have made as many mistakes individually as Arteta has made as well, right?
Yep.
Okay. So it is a 3-headed monster. Everything needs to improve next season. Tony, I'll take you. Go ahead, Tony, and then I've got a question for Stan.
You were saying this last year, Arteta needs to learn. Every single one of those things he did not learn or improve on. So why do you think he's going to do it this
All right,
year?
that leads me into my question for Stan. Okay. Stan, do you think that the high-profile players we're probably going to sign this summer will force Arteta and the competitions that we're going to go into to be better with man management? If we get a Rice or a Caicedo, the levels go up. You have more games, more competitions. Do you think that will force Arteta to rotate more?
Well, what's his alternative? He buys new players and doesn't play them. And that's what's the point of that. Or he buys new players and people are then other people are marginalized and no longer getting games. So he's got to get rid of the ones that he doesn't believe are, are now behind where we're going, and buy the players that he can complement with the ones that he's got. But we're still going to be, as Gary quite rightly says, it's not going to be enough to put us in that space where Man City plays, where we don't have backups or second stringers. We have Gundogan's and Mahrez's, players that can be of equal quality, and we're getting there. That's the key to this.
So I believe we bring in, let's imagine a Vlahovic or a right central defender that's cover for Saliba, and we bring in Caicedo or Rice or Mount. Now he's got 5 players that are higher quality to add to the
But then who have we lost?
Who
have we lost, right? Who have we lost? We've lost Balogun.
We've lost
He wasn't on our bench anyway, but we've lost Holding. He's not on the bench. We've
Holding,
lost ESR. We've lost Granit Xhaka, ESR, and we've lost Tierney.
Possibly Tierney, yeah.
So then those people have to be replaced with people that are going to get game time. They can't just be, you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah. And I generally believe with the higher quality in the squad, the more competitions and the need for rotations, that Arteta will be forced into doing that more than he is inclined to maybe wanting to do it. Do you know what I mean? We all feel he hasn't wanted to rotate because the quality is not there. We bring in the quality this summer. Do you see what I'm getting at, Gary?
Is it quality over quantity, though? Is it quality? Is it worth keeping a Reece? I'm just picking a name out of the air. A Reece Nelson to have an extra body, if when he's needed and players are going through the red zone and looking tired, you don't use him. He's still sat on the bench. What was the purpose of it? When is he ever going to get the minutes? Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I see where you're getting at.
I'd rather have somebody there that he can say, okay, Saka's looking a bit burnt out now. He can do with some games out. I can put in player X. I can put in Jesus because I got Vlahovic or whoever. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Gary, Stan and I are talking with no certainty that Arteta will do it, but we feel the rise in quality will force Arteta to do it.
We got better
You
players
know what?
this
You know
year.
what?
We didn't do it.
He didn't do it with Trossard. Didn't do it with Jorginho. So I don't know what we know.
Yeah, well now we go another window.
No. But
5 players in.
He had these players for 6 months. As I said, Trossard was player of March. In April, he never saw the field. So I don't know. Did he learn or what happened?
Maybe he sees Trossard as slightly beneath in the pecking order when it comes to playing in Gabriel Jesus' position, and he sees him slightly down the pecking order when it comes to Gabriel Martinelli's position.
The
However, the counter to that, which is in Gary's defense, is even if you see them slightly in the pecking order down, if one of those two players look frazzled, would you keep playing them or do you take them out and put someone else in?
Our
So
leading
then-
assist maker
Do you know what I mean?
from January to the end of the season was who? Who was
Trossard.
it? Trossard. He had 8 assists since he's been there. So that's more than Erdegaard. That's more than everybody else that plays. I mean, I don't know what what more does he have to do?
Listen, Stan and I wanted Trossard.
We did.
I wanted him more
I love
in the
him.
team
Yeah.
as well, and he wasn't played enough. I don't believe Arteta believes in him enough to displace
Can I
Martinelli
just say one thing as
or
well? Because
Jesus. Welcome, Darren. Good to see you, Darren.
one quick thing. I get what Gary's saying, and a lot of people were saying it wasn't, when he got taken out of the team after being in for a run and being really successful, and he was taken out, then it was like, bring him back in, bring him back in, bring him back in, bring him back in. But when he did come back in, I found him timid.
You know why? Because he just got put in the elephant graveyard. He came back starving. He was like on the death's door. You have to rotate your players. You can't just sit there and a man go through a
It's a
whole
little
month
bit of each,
of
right?
playing.
I'm just saying, right?
You can't go through a whole month of playing the way he did, and then all of a sudden say, "I'm just going to take off the hose of
Gary,
water, but I still want you to go out there."
They're the
It's
players
a
I
three-
want, though.
You
They're
got
the
to
players
think
I
of it
want,
three
Gary.
things.
They're
Gary,
the players
three.
I
You know
want.
what? You look
I
at
want those
I
players.
have no doubt
Maradona
if
was
you
one of
go
them
I
players.
have
I'm
no
just
doubt if you
picking
go
a name,
look at
but
like the City players and how they rotate, they don't sit out for an entire month.
Gary,
I want players, Gary. I want players that will
Trossard is a
be.
player. He started
but
for
I
Brighton.
want a
He was
player
one of
that's
he was
gonna
their
be in
leading
the.
scorer.
I get that, but what
Brighton,
I
the
want,
team that
I
just
get that.
destroyed us.
I am not
He was
disputing that.
starting for them.
I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is that in a
just listen a second,
situation,
Gary.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, I want a player that in a situation where they're playing really, really, really well, and then they get taken out of the side. I want to play that player that when they come back into the side, they're chomping at the bit. Example: Riyad Mahrez scores a
Agree.
hat trick.
Do you know
He
how
scores
often he plays? You think he sits out for a month? No, he
Gary,
doesn't.
Gary.
Them players are out there, Gary. I want
No, I
players.
know, but you bring up a player who I
Oh,
believe in as
yeah, I'm
well.
a really good
but
player, but
they play those
I
16.
can't play. I've been out
City
for 3-4 weeks.
City
I can't
plays
play.
those
I've been
players a
out.
lot. They don't just sit and
No.
idle for a while.
Gary,
They do.
it's just
You can look at the
No.
numbers.
two
They
Gary,
play.
No,
They don't
it's
sit.
football.
They don't
Listen,
sit, and then all of a sudden
it's
get.
football's about.
Arteta. It's Arteta.
I'm
and
telling
it's
you,
the
look
player.
at how City does
Okay,
it. And you
two.
tell
Two,
me.
Let me put it this
Tell
way,
me.
right? We had Eddie Nketiah saying, right?
It's two.
Well,
It's
I
the
need to
player
start
and the
games. Hang on.
manager.
We had Eddie Nketiah saying, "Oh, well, what do you expect? I'm being brought on here. I'm being brought on there. I need to start games." And I look at Man United and I see Garnacho, and I'm like, I don't see him saying that. He's taking his minutes, and when he gets his minutes, he's making an impact. That's the kind of player I want.
Evening, Tom.
Right,
Gary,
Mr. Tom?
Gary, the player is training, and the player, when given a chance, needs to take their chance.
Goldilocks
You
players.
just
Gary
heard
was
it there.
Goldilocks
I'm
players.
just telling you how it.
Just
I'm just
already
telling you how.
there.
I know, but there
how
you
it-
go. There you go again. You're looking at one thing. You're looking at the
Porridge has to be
manager.
just right.
You need to
Don't
look
look
at
at
the
the
player
manager.
as well.
Porridge can't be too hot. Porridge can't be too cold.
You need
It's
to
gotta
look
be
at the
just
player
right.
as well. I believe as well. You know, the player wants to get on the field. You get on the field and you don't take your chance. I'm going to go back to Tomiyasu again against Man City. You know, we can't make excuses for players trying to get a ball back to the goalkeeper when he should
Exactly,
be kicking
sir.
in Rosie.
Exactly,
know?
sir.
Sorry.
Exactly, sir.
So yes, Arteta's at fault for many, many things, but
And
there
that's
are
maybe that's
individual-
a mentality thing. That's something that the manager should be instilling into the players. That when you get onto the pitch, you take your chance. Oh, you don't go in front of the cameras and go, "Oh, well, I need to start games," and the porridge can't be too hot.
I
and the
also
porridge can't
feel-
be too cold, and
I also feel that our first 11 are so good that the squad players feel that they can't get back in. Now, is that Arteta or is it on the player to show that he can?
We have
Take
multiple
his-
competitions,
like-
right?
Trossard should be saying, "I want to take Martinelli's position. I want to do things on the field." Eddie Nketiah should be saying, "I want Jesus' spot." You know what I mean? So yeah, I get what you're saying, Gary. There's no rhythm, and I think Arteta needs to learn rhythm and bringing players in.
I just told you he needs to rotate the players. I think when they sit out too long, you kill any kind of form that they
Well,
might have, and then
I-
you complain that they don't have any form. I don't believe, and I keep saying this, I don't believe that our players have to sit out so long before they get a game. I mean, when we I always go back to that situation with Tomiyasu. He had sat out for a month plus, right? He finally gets to play. Who is it against? City.
City.
Like
There's
it's got to be, and then
probably
like people are gonna look at that game and go, "That is why he's not a good player." And it's like, wait a second. This is City, right? Like the best team in the world,
it's probably an
City,
injury,
right?
right?
So
Ben White plays.
the only reason why he got to play is because, as you say, there was an injury, and
Hmm.
why do we have to wait for an injury to get a player in? Why can't we rotate them?
Sure, I
I
agree
mean,
with that.
and
And
that's
that's
what we
when
needed.
everybody kept asking for
I
him.
agree. I agree with that definitely. But the player needs to play well. in that
Everybody
situation.
was asking for
And
Tomiyasu.
he got
He
bullied
came
by
out there.
Grealish. He got
But-
bullied.
But by the time Arteta puts these players out there in a situation, it's already past the time.
Yeah,
And
but
we always see
everybody during that week said we needed to have Tomiyasu because he's a better defender. What happened? He made a fucking mistake and cost us a goal,
Yeah.
most likely the game.
we give a
Yeah, but how
goal.
many times?
good
But you
shout,
know what?
Tommy.
But you know what? He never get
Good shout.
like all of our defenders have made mistakes. When you don't play as much, maybe with the cycle, it just happened to be his time to make a mistake.
Gabriel
'Cause you can look at
has
Gabriel
made
Marquez,
many
you can look at
mistakes.
Saliba. They all made mistakes, but they played a lot, right? They were able to
Yeah.
redeem themselves.
We
So
got-
what is
in the
it?
next
They
game.
play a lot or they
So-
don't play enough? You
No,
know?
they
got-
need to rotate. We just said that they need to be able to rotate in and out the squad. I
Yeah.
mean, I was looking at some of the stats and the way that City has about 13, 14 players who have actually started 20 plus games. We have like 11, and right,
Hmm.
right, and we had we
We
didn't
have
use.
a
I think we
core.
could have used Trossard a little bit more and Jorginho at least to come in to give people a break.
These
But that's
are
where
things.
so.
These are
Can I-
things
can I
Arteta
say?
needs to learn. These are things Arteta needs to learn. Rotate the players more. Maybe we're not having this lively discussion about who's.
We had
who
this
above, whether it's
discussion last year.
May I say?
Mad-
Every year I ask for rotation.
May I say, right, talking about our fullback options, if you're looking at Tomiyasu, Ben White, Kieran Tierney, and Zinchenko, my own opinion, and I know that a lot of people will disagree with me, I just don't think Tomiyasu and Zinchenko are good enough if we want to be playing and matching Man City. They're not. I think, and I use Tomiyasu more as the example. For
I
him,
think he's good enough.
I think he
But-
reminds me of a Tavares. And what I mean by that is,
no,
Yeah,
that is,
what I mean by
that
that
is so
that,
mean.
is
He
that
is not a
and
Tavares. That is really
maybe-
mean.
and
You know what?
maybe
As his attorney, you getting a letter tomorrow.
and what I
You
mean by
best
that
get
is
your attorneys. We're gonna have a discussion.
let me
Cannot
explain
You
myself.
cannot
Right?
compare Tomiyasu
All right,
to
let me
Tavares.
explain
That right
myself,
there is
right?
scandalous.
Make
and
your
I
case.
think that's
Dan.
almost.
myself.
I think it's almost rude.
Let me explain myself. I'd even put it maybe
Stan,
like
dial
a
up Rowan.
Guendouzi as well. Sometimes you buy a player and they come to a club that, and it's a big club. They can't believe their luck. They're at this big club, and you see them in their first few appearances, and they're playing above their level. They're full of what I call piss and vinegar. But then after a while, they plateau. They go back to what their level is. And Tavares is very much like that. He done that at Arsenal, and he's doing that at the club in France. When he first started in that club at France, he was tearing it up, but then he's kind of plateaued. And I kind of feel like that about Tomiyasu. When I first saw him, I thought, oh, he looks like a canny buy.
Decent.
For what
Yeah.
we've paid for him, he can play at the right back position, and apparently he can play centre back as well. And he plays
Do you
for
know what, Stan?
Japan. But after a few games, well, more than a few games, but after a while, I don't really rate him that much, to be honest. He comes on, he turns over
He's
the
been
ball,
hurt
he
so
makes
much.
mistakes, and he
still think he's
he
good.
seems to be injury prone, right? He went out with one thigh muscle, and as he was recovering with that one and not doing anything, recovering, the other one went.
And it's
And
all
so
been
what? And so what? He's
These-
going to come back in September, and then in January he's going off with Japan. What, and get
These
injured?
are
No,
players.
you know what? I don't agree. I don't believe that one, we don't fill his spot, and two, I don't care if he comes back healthy or not. That's how bad we need to get somebody into that spot. So it doesn't actually really matter if he comes back or not because we can't depend on it.
Tomiyasu.
You know what I mean?
Tomiyasu was a player. Sorry, Tony. Tomiyasu was a player for a top 4 fight last season. We've raised our levels to a title challenge, and maybe Tomiyasu is not that player.
Good point.
For a title challenge.
And the other one that was unpopular is
because
Zinchenko.
he's injured.
I'm not convinced of Zinchenko. Me and Tony were talking about Zinchenko earlier.
Yeah.
Hang on. Tony was saying that he would like to see Zinchenko playing in Xhaka's position. And my argument to that is that he's basically been playing in midfield all season for us, really. Really, right? He's been playing in midfield. Yep. Was it 1 goal, 2 assists? And that's his first goal in the Premier League since he's been playing in the Premier League.
Okay. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people will tell you that Zinchenko is the reason why our attack is the way it is.
I get that, and I get that.
So
yes,
he's not the guy making the last pass, but he's the reason why the build-up is so strong.
I will caveat with this, right? There are people much better at me at analysis that I've listened to that have played a good reasons of how he helps us. Me personally, I just want my defenders to defend first. I want my defenders to defend first. Yeah. I know it's high risk, high reward. I think the risk is too high that by doing it sometimes.
You know what? But there's a catch-22 there, because if you, as we say, if we go out and we get more attacking players, more clinical players, then you won't even notice the fact that our defense is so porous sometimes.
Is it not an
because
argument
we'll be winning games on our bad days? We'll be winning 3-2 as opposed to drawing and stuff like that.
Is there not a good argument to say that a skilled manager would want to have in his arsenal, no pun intended, a player like Zinchenko for some situations and a player like Tierney for some situations, and be able to
obviously not because he doesn't do that. Obviously not because he doesn't play that way.
I'm just saying, and then they look at the opposition when they come up and say, okay, this would be a better suited. And you have why is Kieran Tierney? If Kieran Tierney
calling a timeout?
Kieran Tierney is so out of fashion, right? If Kieran Tierney is so out of fashion and the way that he plays that position is so outdated, why is he constantly being linked to a move to Man City? And if they're supposed to be, if Pep's supposed to be the genius when it comes to tactics, what does he know that we don't know? And I've said it before. I tell you what he knows that we don't know. I tell you what he knows that we don't know. Not very much. And I'm not dissing him. What I'm saying is that he's very good at bringing back tactics, old tactics, and renaming them. Case in point, the WM formation. 4-4-2, 2 up front. So what does he know that we doesn't know? Why does he want a player like Tierney, which is supposed to be, that's no good no more?
Do you remember the goal that Salah scored against Man City at Anfield?
No.
It was a very, very long ball from Alisson, and Cancelo miscontrols the ball and passes. Salah's right there. He takes the ball past Cancelo and he scores. Liverpool win 1-0. Haaland doesn't have really a sniff all game. Liverpool win the game 1-0. City lose because Cancelo has made this mistake. A fullback playing as a central defender because there's a large clearance from Alisson that's miscontrolled. Stay with me for a second. On Sunday, Pep Guardiola said he realized to beat Real Madrid and to beat the wingers in the Premier League, such as Saka and Martinelli, he couldn't do it with fullbacks. He needed central defenders in all 4 positions on the field. So at that point, I believe when Cancelo miscontrolled the ball, Salah won the game. Pep Guardiola thought, I've got to bring central defenders in here in fullback positions.
How dare he change his formation and approach in the middle of his season?
This
is Arteta to do that, and people think you're trying to like get to the moon or something ridiculous like that. Wow, imagine that. That
was a great move from Pep. He's nullified Arsenal in those 2 games. He's nullified Real Madrid with those 4 central defenders, and probably going to go on to do a treble.
But we play the same way against everybody with no inkling of whether
we need to change. Yes, we need to be a little bit better. Tony,
why did you ignore that article I sent you 30 weeks ago?
Because you always send me convoluted articles.
It wasn't
Send me-
convoluted. It
Send
was
me
about Pep
YouTube links are
using.
much better.
It was about Pep using 4 center backs.
Okay. Tony, I'm coming around to you. I always
We've
come
only
round
got
to
2
you
centre backs. Well,
too
Kivior.
late. I always come round to you too late in the season. You've been talking about minutes the Saka's been playing. I'm starting to listen to you, Tony. You know?
Yeah, but you know what? Why you take so long?
Dude, can I,
Me
can
or
I say
Too
my,
Arteta?
long. You take too long to come around.
can I
Hey,
say
at
my
least
point?
I come around. At
Yeah, but
least
it's by that time it's already dead and
you
it's already
don't come
over.
around.
What do
You
I?
don't
What
say
didn't
my
I come
point?
around to?
Now
don't
can
know.
I say my other point I was trying to make 15 minutes
Yes,
ago?
yes, Tony. You have the limelight.
We have what Arteta calls what not forgot what the fuck he said. Nasty injury to Martinelli, which most likely means he probably won't be ready for the start of the year. So now you have Trossard. So
Because of Caicedo.
you can have another happy accident with Trossard playing.
Yeah.
It
It
shouldn't
shouldn't
even be
have
that.
to be.
Trossard should already be
Yeah.
part of a
Shouldn't have to be a
of
happy
our
accident.
first 11. He should be able to play
Um,
and we don't miss a beat.
Let me.
Well, we have a very stubborn manager.
We're going to get to this, Stephen, here. Ray, we didn't even rotate the players properly in the cup matches. Most of the first 11 played in those matches.
Why do you listen
These-
to him? I've been
These
telling
are
you all
finely
season.
tuned. These are finely tuned athletes that lose their sharpness when they sit for too long. They cannot keep up the levels just sitting there. I will tell you, I criticize Arteta for not rotating enough, not doing the right thing. But I also will tell you, a athlete is training
It's
and
not
should
true.
be able
Look
to
at
pass the ball back to a goalkeeper properly, or
look
should
at
be able
the
to
look
clear
at
the
look
ball.
at look at the Manchester
Basics.
stats. Look at the Manchester stats and see how many times all those players play. They don't sit as idle as they do for Arsenal. They play a lot
But
more than you
a
think.
professional footballer, Gary, Aaron Ramsdale is playing every game. He should be able to pass it to an Arsenal player, not a Southampton player, right?
You should, yeah, you should.
But Kai Saka, we love him. You got to score a penalty at West Ham. That's the pressure that you need to accept as the best player on the pitch.
But what
know?
you're saying about Aaron Ramsdale, is that not the trade-off about having a goalkeeper that's still very much
Yeah.
in their infancy, playing at an extremely high level, and let's look at it another way, is going to be having to go up to another level when he faces teams in the Champions League.
Yeah. And I have been saying over the years, when you play like this, playing out from the back, you're gonna make a mistake. A high-profile mistake will cost you.
He made that mistake in the first 5 minutes of the game, so
50
it's
seconds.
not. So it's not even really. I mean, I get it. In late
First
in the game.
minute.
No. So you just came out of the locker room. The coach just told you this is how things are going to go. This is what we're going to do. And a minute into the game, you pass the ball right to their player inside, almost in the box. It's like.
Yeah. So look, Arteta's made mistakes this season, and we know where the points were dropped. We know the points that we could have made up if we were perfect in this thing. The players have made some mistakes. I think we got tight after Liverpool. I think Liverpool shook us a little bit, right? And
no, focusing on Man City.
You don't think
even before a ball was kicked at Southampton, they were looking at Man City. Yeah.
Okay.
That spooked him.
Tierney is the victim of Arteta not having a plan B, so Tierney never gets to play. And when the game is screaming for a change, we cannot do that because he has no plan B. Listen, I thought this at the start of the season, Tony. Start of the season, I thought Zinchenko and Tierney would be sharing minutes more. Right? Didn't we all feel that?
I think Tierney felt that.
I thought Zinchenko would be playing in the midfield somewhere. He didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, we all thought
Tierney's like, listen, I'm fucking injury prone. How can I even get injured if I'm not even on the pitch, man? What's going on?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
so. Tony, this one from earlier in the season, to be or not to be, progressive or pragmatic. It needed to be a little bit. Need to be a little bit of each, right, Tony?
Yep, that's what I said at the time. I don't think it's an
And
either or question.
I was generally in favor of being progressive. I was wrong. There was times in this season, Gary, where we needed to be pragmatic.
Yes, and we don't. We need to be more. Like, think about it. We need to be defensive in a particular game. We're playing City. Maybe you go with you're a more defensive player, right? Because it doesn't matter whether or not, like, you're playing City. You know they're gonna have the ball for most of the time, and they're gonna hurt you if you can. But you don't go defensively, and you pay for it, and then you don't rotate anyway, so you pay for it there. You kind of double it. You kind of pay for it both times because you never
But
keep these players. You're not progressive enough to maybe to keep everybody engaged for the entire season. They sit
yeah,
idle.
but you go defensive. You bring out Tomiyasu, and he fucks up in the first game.
Yeah, but he hadn't been playing, and that's the problem with all of this. You bring him in when they're needed they hadn't played it. He hadn't played.
Everybody and their dog was screaming for Tomiyasu.
Yes, but they were playing.
In.
You know why? Because when they saw him play against Salah, they figured, oh, that means he should be able to get into more games. Guess what? He never played again. It seemed, right?
He played Tomiyasu perfectly against Mo Salah.
But then and that was early in the season when he probably was still in, like, he never lost his form as much because he able to come in there and shut him down. All of a sudden he comes in and plays against City, and you're like, that's not the same player. Well, it isn't because he's in a different state mentally, physically.
May I say, if we rewind to the very beginning of the season, before the first game, if everybody in the squad was fit, I honestly believe that our back four would have been Kieran Tierney, Mega Legs, Ben White, Tomiyasu. I think that the shuffle of Ben White going to right back and Saliba getting his opportunity so quickly was down to the injury of Tomiyasu, a happy accident. That would I'm not saying that would have maintained as our back four going in. Things might not have changed, but that's what it would have started off as. I believe that.
The only reason why Margalez is starting is because Luis was injured. So
exactly.
And until you tell me Arteta will just play a player because of what he's seen in practice, the reason why he brought him in, right? He brings in players for a particular reason. Then I'll go, you know what, he's learning from his scouting. It was making sense because he's bringing these players in and he actually brings them in and they actually plays them, right? When it's not required, meaning no injuries, no penalty, no suspensions or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's and it can't be that way. You have to be able to go to that.
You have
to look to your bench and go to it.
We're gonna linger on the Zinchenko and left back spot for a second, but I want to get the question in here, or the statement from Stephen. Saka wasn't mentally prepared to take that penalty. He was mentally worn out weeks before that penalty. His body language has been poor for months. And listen, we all want more rotation for Bukayo Saka.
If you look at the way he took that, he didn't even put his foot through the thing.
Yeah,
I mean, that was just a nice pass.
My answer is you should be able to get a penalty on target at that level.
Yeah,
it's not that. Physical and mental fatigue is a thing.
I hear you, but I've always felt that as a manager of a football club, my goalkeeper that's taking the penalty, I never expect him to save it. If they do, it's a bonus. As the manager of the guy taking the penalty, you got to get it on target.
The percentages.
I hear you, but we can't. You cannot.
I know that people miss them. I get it.
But like you can look at the way he's taken. You know what? You can look at the way he took that penalty compared to the one where he grabbed the ball and said, "I'm taking this." He didn't look like he wanted to take that. Didn't matter. This whole playing games where Erdogan grabs the ball. Nah. When he wanted to take that ball, remember he wanted to take that ball. He grabbed it. I forget which game it was. I think it was against United or whatever. He took that ball or City, I think it was, Liverpool earlier in the season.
Mm.
He grabbed the ball and said, "It's mine. I'm taking this one." I don't
Yeah.
know if he was
No, I hear you.
slated to, but like that shows the mentality of the player at the time. This one, he looked a little timid, and you could see it in the actual kick when he took
You
it.
should be able to get it on. For me, I just think he should.
You
I'd
you
rather
can.
he gets it
This
on
is
tar-
mental. We're talking about the
saying-
mental part of the
I'm just
game.
saying
Yeah.
that I'd
It's
rather
the
he
mental
gets it
part.
on
People miss
target,
for
doesn't
mental
put enough
reasons
on it,
too.
and it gets batted away. I just
Yeah.
expect my players to get them on target. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
If
but you're
you-
expecting to be 100%
What can I tell you,
correct
Gary?
every
I run a
time.
tight ship. I run a
Yeah,
tight
no,
ship.
but nobody's that. Nobody's perfect.
You
Stan.
can have
We're
no
not perfect.
arguments. Gary,
We're
you
not
can have no
perfect.
arguments if he hits
Gary,
the
you've
target.
just written yourself off the list of my number 2s that I was looking
Saka-
for. Assistant
If Saka
manager.
hits
We're
the
not gonna get
target,
on.
you can have
Not gonna
you
get
can have
on.
no arguments if Saka hits the target, but he never hit the target. If the goalkeeper
In fact, I'm
saves
hiring
it,
Tony because he raises his hand.
goes down as a good save. Tony's a good lad. He raises his hand. Tony.
That's how many minutes differences this season between Tierney and Tomiyasu.
Tomiyasu and Tierney, or Tierney and Zinchenko?
Tierney and Tomiyasu.
I'd say there's probably a lot of minutes difference. Yes.
150 minutes.
That's all. Not a lot then. Okay.
14 something to 1270.
Now, here we go. Progressive or pragmatic. It came through. Basically, to be progressive or pragmatic, Gary, comes through one position. Zinchenko or Tierney, right? Because that's the mechanism we built attacks off of with Zinchenko. Is that fair?
Now, that's the way we do it. But if you're going to have Tierney in your squad, then you need to have a reason for it. He needs to be able to play for a particular reason. So then you have to change things up. You have to, because he's not the same player, and you're not going to get the same out of him. No player is exactly the same. You do have to adjust to it, and other players may take on a different. Players may take on a different role in that situation. It happens all the time.
Two completely different players.
So for this one, 1,400 minutes, 2,400 minutes.
Okay, so there's almost twice as much for Zinchenko minutes. I believe you can be pragmatic in your approach. I just think that this young team has been too, cavalier in games. We've lost games because we've tried to force it. I had a discussion with you earlier in the season, Gary, about Man United. I think we forced it a little bit against Man United away from home. Remember losing that game?
But right.
Who forced it?
We forced it as a team.
But the players were playing to a particular set of instructions coming from.
So the instructions may have been given, but they were not executed by the players, right? Previous seasons, Lacazette has come out and said we didn't do what the coach wanted us to do, what the manager wanted us to do.
Everybody could tell that playing the way we did with our center back so high up the pitch was going to be we were going to get punished because Rashford was running on us, and that's exactly what happened, and that's the way we played. So I don't know.
That's what
Sometimes you adjust to that. After the first time he runs it by you, then you adjust to it. We didn't adjust at all. So either, as you say, the players weren't listening to the manager when he adjadjusted, or we continue to play the same way.
I remember those games.
Teams
I remember that Man United game. We were naive and trying to play out, and we got caught in the counterattack at least twice for that game, And there you go, you lose 3-1. I thought we were a little bit naive in that game. It was a sixth.
And as he says, as Steven says, that you can't be pragmatic if you're not actually realistically looking at what you have. You don't have another Zinchenko, so you cannot play the same way. You can't ask Tierney to play. You can't ask Tierney to play like Zinchenko. It makes no sense.
That's not. We've heard Arteta's own words in the documentary. This is the way we can play. I can alternate players, but we're going to play this way.
And
Which is
this
silly
right
because you don't have you don't have cookie
It's,
cutter
he's
players.
not gonna fucking change. Don't expect him to change. He's
here.
set in
We
stone.
lost.
That's the naivety and the immaturity in the
That's
way
why
that you're
he-
coaching
that's why he won't
coming from the
succeed in
top
the end.
down sometimes because it doesn't make any sense.
We lost the Man United match because we only know one way to play, no adjustments, or you guessed it, a plan B.
Did anyone else hear Mikel Arteta quite recently saying something about, in one of his interviews, talking about pressing the reset button? I mean, that sounds a bit drastic to me.
Well, it's
Resetting.
basically, I
Yeah,
think,
it's a bad choice of words, I believe, but yeah.
a mental reset. The season starts again after Sunday. I think that's what he's talking about. A reset button
Okay.
is we
It's
go
a bad
again.
choice of words because we don't
You
need to
fall-
reset. We need to
you-
build on what we just did.
you
Is really what
fall
I
off.
want to do. I
Yeah.
don't want to reset because that means I'm going back. I want to build on what we just did. Like we
Yeah.
just went from second, and I want us
I
to
thought-
challenge now in our cup matches. We're gonna have to challenge We're gonna have to manage. We're gonna have to do much better in our rotation because when we play Champions League games, we're not playing with our second team. We're playing with our number one team, right? So that weekend game, they're gonna have to play those.
We could have
those-
injuries. We could have suspensions.
No,
Gary.
but that's where the rotation comes in. So you're gonna have to be rotating your players regardless of whether it's Champions League or
He's
not.
not gonna
And if
do
you
it.
can't do
But
that,
once he
guess
has
what?
better
We'll be in
players, maybe
trouble.
he will. Once he has
Yeah.
players that he can trust.
Lonzo.
All right, Lonnie. But once,
Hi there.
Hey
once
there,
he has
Lonzo.
players that he can look to the bench and he likes, maybe it'll be
He didn't
better.
like Trossard and he didn't like Jorginho, and I'll go back until that's not an issue.
Well,
I'm
the
gonna
day
keep
you
bringing that
die,
up.
you'll stand by those words.
I'll keep bringing
right?
that up until we see it, right? Until he looks at his bench and goes, I can pick anybody. I can pick a guy from each line, and I got an answer.
Now,
Who do you think is going to start in the next match, Jorginho or Partey?
Partey.
You think?
Partey.
Yeah.
He'll
They'll
put
probably
him back
just go-
in
That'll
midfield.
be interesting to see, right?
Yeah.
And he should just go back to his regular starting 11 and carry on, and then just get out of here.
There
That's
is,
what he
there
should
is a
do.
way
Make it
Get out
easy
of
on
here.
himself.
Just get out of here, yeah.
in this evolution of our young team, because let's face it, we have a young team, and we get rid of if Xhaka's leaving and Partey is leaving, we bring in younger midfielders. Our average age is actually going to go down a little bit as well, because we bring in a Rice or a Caicedo. Gary, do you think that the evolution of this team can bring a mindset where the players themselves can be more pragmatic in a game? If they know they're under pressure, they can survive for 15, 20 minutes until they come back into the game. It's got to be the maturity of the team now on the field as well, right?
Yeah, I think you may have lost me there a little bit before you were
As,
saying.
all right, next, we've been through this experience
Yep.
where
Yep.
we faded in the last quarter of the season.
Yep.
Starkly is the last 10 games of the season. Next season, we can take that experience and know when we have a tricky situation at Old Trafford, we don't lose the game at Old Trafford because we take the heat out of the game.
Well, yeah, that's
I
going to
can
be a
believe
big.
that.
That's a big learning curve for Arteta because we haven't seen it yet.
The players
how
though
they
as
look
well.
Well, sorry, that's a big change for our team because we haven't seen it yet. So and we have like the last 2 seasons shown like this the team just looks poor, as you said, in the last 10 games.
Can I just answer this question? It's a good question there from Misfit. Half right, half wrong. They're not all his players, are they? Reece Nelson is not his player. Emil Smith-Rowe is not his player. Eddie Nketiah is not his player. The only player really that they were already.
Signed him.
All right, he resigned. All right, he resigned Eddie Nketiah. All right, let's take that one
He
out.
re-signed Emil Smith-Rowe as well. Like most of these players, he re-signed them. They were re-signed under his watch.
Rob
Most
Holding
of them
is not his
except
player.
To
He
be
wanted
fair,
Reece-
Stan,
He says he
I
wanted
think-
Holding. He did. He said he wants
I
Holding.
think
He signed for up to 4 extra years. What do you mean?
I think Stan, to be fair, if after 3 or 4 seasons, he has
They're
to
his
have
players.
the players.
They're his players.
To
These
be
are all
fair.
his players. He either kept them or he re-signed them.
Then the answer to that question is I've got no idea why he would do that.
No, I mean,
Why did he
like,
sign them up if you cannot trust them? Look,
don't know.
some of this
He's
has
fucking
to
mental.
be financial reasons. We can't do everything. We must realize Gary, we can't bring 9 players.
Maybe some of those players are part of a holding pattern.
You know, we need 9 players, Gary. We can't bring 9 players in this summer.
But you know what? That's where you know what we saw this same manager
Alonso
come
get
into
you
it.
in.
We saw this same manager come into a
Time.
situation where none of the players were his, and he set up the team to succeed with what he had, right? Knowing full well, as you just said, he's not going to replace all 24 players to
So
get to where he
make
needs
do.
to be, and he had to keep a certain number of players, and he still did not create a system that allowed the players that he did have to live together, to work together somehow, because he was not going to get away from getting rid of everyone. He just wasn't. It wasn't going to happen. It's not possible. So you have to be able to take all of the players you have and get something out of all of them. Regardless, like
why are we putting like 3 bids to renew Reece Smith? I was just thinking now we're putting like
Reece Nelson, he's on his 3rd bid now. Yeah.
And like we say, he doesn't look like he's been trusting him. It's only been like, oh fuck it, break glass.
It's the same thing he did to Nketiah.
It's not encouraging, is it?
No, Nketiah went through the same thing. I mean, Nketiah is looking at Reece Nelson is looking at the Nketiah. It doesn't really help him because he doesn't gain any worth in the team. Like his value in the team doesn't go up. Like Nketiah's value in the team hasn't got better because he got a new contract and a shirt.
Maybe
the same player, the same issues for us.
Maybe maybe if he'd rested Saka now and then and gave Reece Nelson some valuable starts, maybe he'd be happy to sign a contract. Maybe he'd be thinking, okay, this is improvement.
Exactly. You feel more part of the setup. You feel like you want to be part of the setup when your time comes. Stephen, I got your comment here. I put a star in it, so we're going to come back to that one.
Yeah. There's nothing that Arteta did for Reece Nelson and Milsrif Rowe, unless it's for Reece Nelson for sure he didn't. There's no trust shown there, confidence in the way that he
do you want to keep him?
Reece Nelson?
Yeah.
Anyone? You guys?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I keep him.
Is he a backup for Saka or a backup on the left? Is he like a main?
I think in the league or the Champions League,
we need a Trossard behind Saka is what we need. So if we're not going to get he's not a Trossard. So forget it. We need somebody.
What do you mean when you say he's not a Trossard? You don't think he's
not at that level? He's not as good as a Trossard. Reece Nelson and Trossard are on different levels. They are.
His numbers.
Hang on. I want to ask Gary because this is interesting.
Similar.
Where would you see him playing then? What's his level? Where should he be playing every week? Do you know what I mean?
I think I've heard like Crystal Palace, right?
You'd say that he's at that level. Okay, that's interesting.
He's mid-table, probably. Yeah.
So in your eyes, you don't understand why we're trying to sign him so badly. You don't think
you understand why we wanted to sign Nketiah. Yeah. Why we wanted to sign Holding. I mean, you look at all these players we've re-signed. We re-signed Mari. I don't know why we wanted to sign him. Cedric. I don't know why we wanted to re-sign him and all these things. It's like a lot of these players.
We did 4 years.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know why we signed some of those players.
5 years.
What does everyone else think on Reece Nelson then? Do you think that we shouldn't be going there?
If you look at his stats, it's a smaller sample size, but he's had as much impact as Trossard has on the bare stats alone. You look at it.
You're just looking at the stats, but you can tell me Trossard is at a different level than Reece Nelson.
Let me tell you one thing. No, they're similar.
You're saying they're at the same level influence-wise in the game. You ask a lot more of Trossard than you do of Reece Nelson. Yeah, but if you I'm not taking bare stats because this doesn't answer the question. That's like bare stats. That means Zinchenko's terrible.
What's bare
stats?
I'll put it in the comments then.
Stats, isn't there?
We just went through this. Zinchenko got 1 goal?
Bare necessities.
But he's part of our attack. You say he's not important to what we do?
He's horrible, man.
Hang on, Ray. What are bare stats? What are bare stats?
I'm gonna put it up in the chat here. So
there's no meat on the bone.
Go ahead and tear me a new one.
I've never heard that expression before. The bare stats. How do they differ from the stats?
Hold on, I'll tell you now.
The bare necessities.
The bare necessities.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking of.
Alonso, while I'm doing that, Alonso, we seen last summer Mikel Arteta experiment with new systems in preseason.
Alonso, while I'm doing that, can you bail me out?
We haven't seen him use different systems in the actual season to help somebody like Kieran Tierney
Well,
come in for Zinchenko. And I'm not deflecting, I promise.
last
It's only got a shovel for rain.
All right, I'm almost ready.
So last Saturday, we tried to use Tony's preferred back three. It didn't work out, and then we used Partey and
it was raised
right back.
Raised back three.
Right. So we used Kyriar as a left back, which didn't work out. So why is all of a sudden Arteta using this crap at the end of the season, right? It just mind boggles me. And then he doesn't really respect the fact that Forest
Probably
are trying to stay up. So, it's just really, really weird how he would use that. And it's really messed up because it wound up costing us 3 points again.
We experimented with so many formations. We didn't actually use many of them in the season to help players. To Gary's point, help Tierney out and don't put him in. Don't let him wander into midfield. Here we go, Stan. Okay.
Are these your bare stats that you just put out?
Here's my bare stats. Nelson has had 10 games, approximately half the amount that Trossard has had for Arsenal.
But how many of Nelson's games were like coming on for 10 minutes?
Yeah, he had 181 minutes. That's all he played. He didn't start one game. He had 100. Like Trossard started 9 games, which means
had
he was
five goal involvements.
So he's a good off the bench guy, but we need somebody who can actually start behind.
Trossard has had 10.
But we need somebody who challenges for the starting position. That is not Nelson.
You want Nelson to challenge Saka?
If he could, he would have already. He can't because he doesn't get the. Arteta's already shown. He's shown his cards. He's not worthy of getting a start over Saka.
Mate, not ours. So
he does. He can't get a start over Saka even with those stats that you just showed there.
Those bare stats.
Bare necessities.
These bare stats. Whatever nonsense you're talking about here.
But look, this is what football is about, Gary.
He's good off the bench, but we need somebody who can start.
You want players who can score goals and give us.
No. We need somebody who can start. Let's get it straight here. We need competition at the position. We need somebody that can come in and actually put Saka to the bench once in a while.
Yeah.
Reece Nelson isn't that guy.
Okay, who is on the team?
Nobody right now because Arteta doesn't play anybody in that position.
That player nobody again that we keeps popping up in the box.
Nobody is. We got a lot of nobodies on this team.
I know.
Where did we decide him from? Nobody.
Look, I really hope, Gary.
You brought those stats up, and those are once again nonsensical stats.
It's not nonsensical.
They don't mean anything in the context of whether Reece Nelson is a. You're saying Reece Nelson's a better player, is an equal player to Trossard.
All right, answer me this question.
Look with your eyes when you look on the pitch and you see what Trossard brings to the game and what Nelson brings to the game, and then go, "Oh, it's equal."
But
no,
listen, the eye test is not the same as bare stats.
No, you're right about your beer stats are terrible. They're just nonsensical.
They could be beer stats or bear stats.
It's funny you're talking about like seeing stats, Ray. You're the
only
one
there.
And Gary's and Ray, you're not the only. You're the only one that's not wearing glasses.
There you go. You definitely should put your glasses on. Just go ahead and put your glasses on.
Gary, I believe if Nelson had 19 games, he could have had 9 involvements.
He's not good enough to start for our team, so no, he won't.
You can't just say that.
The stats. Bring up the bare stats for this number of starts for both players, and then tell me, because it's 19 games for Trossard, 9 starts, and it's like 0 starts for Nelson and 6 games he's played.
Doesn't that even look better with 5 goal involvements with less minutes?
We don't need a guy to come off the bench for Saka at this point. We need somebody who can start for us.
Yes, right.
Yeah, the bare stats you win.
If you do goal involvements, how many minutes?
I'm not paying extra money for Nelson.
How many minutes did Nelson play, Gary? Tony? How many? This will be
told you the numbers. You don't believe me.
Goal involvements per minute.
What do you want? The Premier League?
Yeah, Premier League minutes for Nelson.
He played 172. So divide that by 5.
Yeah, 20 minutes. He's had a goal involvement every 20 minutes, right?
But Arteta has found a way not to
Yes.
bring him in late in games when we need to score a goal. Imagine that. Wow. That's the only reason why he's brought him in is because he's been desperate or Saka was injured 20 minutes into a game. I mean,
Hang on, Gary, you're missing the point.
half of his minutes are almost because, you know what? Saka didn't even last. That's the only reason why he has over 100 minutes probably.
Why
you know?
would he want to bring in Reece Nelson when he's intent in running Saka into the ground? That's the plan. So
Well,
I
I
know.
see. I don't get. You know what? If you're gonna go to the plan, you're gonna go to the script.
All of this
Saka
is
plays every minute.
contingent on Mikel Arteta becoming a more well-rounded manager in terms of game management.
Nelson comes in.
You said the
scores 2
same thing
goals,
last summer.
comes in off the bench, 2 goals in
Nothing
the game that he
changed.
played the most minutes in, but yet he's not worthy of a start.
Gary, I do hope next season we're having less active discussion about Mikel Arteta and rotation of squad. Really, I do hope for that for all those, because if we're not talking about rotating the squad, then we are having a good season, right?
Right.
Next season,
Yep. Well, yep.
Tony.
Do you play a 20-year-old for 3,664 minutes?
No, you don't. You shouldn't do that, Tony. You're right. I've come around to this thing. So the situation at the Emirates, our away form we've been the best away team in the league. Our away form has been excellent. Well, Tony, there's a situation at the Emirates where we're too open. Right? And Steven says, I can't compare minutes because when Nelson came on, when we were pressing the crap out of our opponents, throwing everything forward. Yeah, they're just bare stats. So
I'll
die in that hell.
This is another segment of the show where we just burn it. Never bring it back again. Because
Gary, we've been too open at the Emirates.
Yeah, I don't, and that's. I don't know why. I don't understand why. Why
are we conceding
can't we play the same way we play on the road? I don't get it. It's the same players.
Why are we? Is it because the onus is more on us to attack and we get countered?
That's what happens when your center backs
I think
the center line.
It wasn't a question to me.
You know, the two of you are a tandem.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me the answer.
Siamese twins.
Right.
Answer the damn man. Stop calling his name.
Yes,
right.
Tony. Yes. Yes, Tony. Yes.
Do you play your center backs above the halfway line?
At some points in the game, you do. Yes.
Do you constantly do it?
Are we playing too high? Is that what you're saying, Tony?
Do the shitty teams beat us by through balls and balls over our left back?
High risk, high reward, isn't it? That's the thing, isn't it? We play high risk, high reward. There's a part of me that doesn't like the high risk bit of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
especially when Nketiah makes mistakes constantly and leads to Gabriel Jesus getting left open, vulnerable rather. So
he's not the only one. Are you guys picking on my man for? He's
Before,
not the only guy back
Lonzo's not a fan.
Gary, before Saliba went out, we've conceded too many goals.
Zinchenko's 5'6".
Before Saliba went out, we conceded too many goals. It got worse. It got about 50% worse, as somebody told me, after Saliba went out. But it was a problem before.
It was a problem.
That needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed big time. We can't keep playing that. We can't keep playing so gung ho. We can't keep starting games and going like 1-0 down, 2-0 down, and then
No, but think about it. If you're playing the same style of football all the time with the same 11, essentially, same 9 to 10 players every game, no mental. I believe mental fatigue is a thing.
No, you are
and
right.
and
You
I
are right.
believe eventually the
It is
form
the
will
thing.
drop a little bit, and you don't
Mm.
rotate. So they're just gonna have to work through it. That's when you're gonna see these issues. I feel like that's where the whole thing. It's got to be a
Can I just
kind of a
admit
moving
something to
chair
you,
kind of
Gary?
thing.
Can I admit
Huh?
something to you? Do you remember about a
Mm.
week ago when I challenged you on players should be able to be fit playing one game a week? That was one of my flimsy defenses.
Yeah, and
That
we
was
we
my
found out
flimsy
it
one.
doesn't work anymore, right? They still need to
You know?
somehow rotate because mentally, I think it's more mental for our players because they fall asleep at the wheel eventually, and it looks like they're tired, but they're probably mentally drained because Arteta probably gives them too much stuff to think about, anyways.
The homework they're taking home, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it's just these big books they keep carrying,
Yeah.
their backs heavy and all this stuff. No, but I just feel like he was in a team.
I've got
where he
visions of our
saw-
players up at 3:00 in the morning doing speed to stay awake
Extra
and looking at
extra
slides
homework. Yeah.
and flip sheets to like learn all this new
Oh, I know what
shit.
you're gonna say, Gary. He was sat beside Pep for all those years.
Yeah, did he not learn anything?
Come on. That's like when you're taking your exams and the guy beside you is writing all the answers down. And you're trying to
No.
look over.
I
You're trying to
don't
look
think
over
I
and
don't
get the
think being
answers.
an assistant to Pep meant that he was just looking at the answers. I believe he understands partly a little bit of the process and the mindset of what Pep's doing. I believe they talk all the time. They probably talked even more when he was there. So he got an understanding of how Pep works. So I don't feel like no. He just went there and all he saw was the cake at the end. He
You
didn't see how
think,
the things
Gary,
all mixed together and how the practice
question
changed into the way you saw things on the pitch.
for you, Gary. Do you think switch the roles around? Do you think Mikel Arteta could have won the league with City
No.
as the manager?
After Pep set it up for him? Yes.
No, this season, Arteta takes over in August.
No.
You think City
He
would win the league
he would
under
kill
Arteta?
he would kill KDB. KDB would be looking like Partey. 24 games into the season, we're like, what happened to KDB? Why did he die on us? I have no doubt that's what we would have seen based on the way that he's coaching right now.
So,
No, but Arteta would have found a way to kill them off. They would have been like
I think he switched the roles around and City still win the league.
Ted Lasso could have won with City.
Like I said, the way that Arteta coaches, if he continued that, he would kill them. He would have killed them.
Lasso did beat City this week.
You watch how many games they rested KDB and all these other players, and
yeah,
when things aren't working with Arteta, go, you know what? I've got 4 center backs. Guess what? You guys are playing today. Would Arteta have done that? No, because he can barely get Tierney to play. And
well,
he's,
Gary,
the closest thing we have
he's got 25 players, whatever the squad is, full of internationals who know what they're doing.
They only play like 15 to 16 of those players regularly. So it's not, everybody keeps saying it's a full squad of 25, but the numbers kind of show you that it's more to that 15, 16 number of players that actually get the bulk of the minutes.
With all of that, Tony, go ahead.
If you want to see Ted Lasso play Arsenal, it's in episode 3 of season 3. 4-5-1. In case you.
It's fake me.
4-5-1.
It's not a real game.
Real Tony.
Alonso.
It's not real.
Alonso.
It's
So
real.
Alonso, what I'm saying is, this season there's a lot of meat left on the bone that we could take advantage of next season.
But Arteta has to not fool around and actually use his team and stop cutting people out. It's just the favoritism needs to stop. Newcastle Road and Tierney and all these guys that deserve to play more don't, because he has a certain style he wants to play, which to me it's frustrating, really, because Tierney was at one point going to be the future captain of Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
And now he's just not even playing now because he favors this certain style of play where the left back goes forward and doesn't go back. And it's kind of sad, actually, because I remember whenever Arsenal got Tierney, there was so much hype around him. And when he was healthy, he backed it up. But now he's just on the bench hanging out. And it's not cool, you know? And he doesn't really sit players that make one too many mistakes to me, you know, and that's other issue as well.
These nuts FC.
Yeah, man.
Alonso.
See, Matt
Yes,
joined
sir.
the show. He's
feel like
up
we
late.
had these
That's
discussions
crazy.
last season, the year before, and the year before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Mikel Arteta's got to learn some.
Us, right?
It's a three-headed monster. It doesn't look like Man City
But you know
aren't
what?
going
But at the end of
anywhere.
the day, when the season starts, each
Players
season,
have to be better.
the
The
manager has to be able to make sure his words get across, and if he doesn't, he's not doing a good job.
Yeah. Now, with all that being said, Stan, there's a lot of meat on the bone. We could
Can I
have
ask Alonso a question? Has he missed it?
sure thing. That voice is sexy.
How many more minutes do you think Tierney got?
Oh my gosh.
Tomiyasu.
They both play different positions, Ray. I mean, Tony. So,
No,
you know, Tomiyasu was hurt.
Not compared.
Indulge him, Alonso.
What do you think the minutes difference was?
Sure, no, because Tomiyasu's hurt. So you can't, that's an unfair assessment, Tony.
Play the game.
Yeah, come on, Alonso. Just,
150 minutes.
Alonso, just do it.
150
Come on.
minutes.
Fair number.
Go on, Alonso.
150 minutes.
Thanks, Alonso. You answered my own question.
Tony, Tom's questions are easier.
But still, I mean, like, to me, you can use him in Europa League, you can use him anywhere else. I mean, even your famous at the back, Tony. So, you know, it's opportunity to miss. So, I mean,
150 minutes is crazy.
You got more chance of finding treasure on
Tomiyasu was
Oak
hurt.
Island than getting a number out of Alonso.
I mean, you know, and he has talent there. So, I mean, I hope Tomiyasu's has it next year because they both got a lot to offer Arsenal still, you know, and
I don't know.
you know,
We'll have to see. We should wind it up pretty soon.
Yeah,
Look,
before
we
my
got
wife leaves me.
Okay, we're definitely going to wind it up very soon. And I just see the note here. It's probably from Stan. That's that. Gary's leaving. I got to go. Got to get some sleep and ride.
Bye,
All
Gary.
Too much information, Gary. What you do in your own time in the bed is not our business, mate.
All right, we'll wind it up here. Thank you, Alonso, for joining at the end. Appreciate it. Gary, energetic discussion we all had tonight, and it's not going to get any easier going in Champions League next season.
Nope. Well, we gotta get through this summer, so we're gonna have a bit to chat about whenever we do chat. So
summer will be interesting as well. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Have to go, guys. I'm not going to make this a long one, Stan. Tony, thanks for joining and being here. Rest that voice, Tony. You need to recuperate for Sunday. And Stan, get out of here before the misses.
No, I kind of just say enjoyed it's a good discussion, and you know, the season's drawing to an end, and my missus is just telling me the nachos are ready, so I'm out of it.
Yeah, listen, nachos will make you leave any day of the week.
Nachos maketh the man. Good night.
All right, with that, we'll get out of here. It's gonna Thursday nights are for Champions League. Tony. Thursday nights are for Champions League. Next season, we're going to have some energetic discussions on Champions League. Are we in it just to participate, or do we want to win it, Tony? Is it just a glorified cup competition, Tony?
It is a glorified cup competition.
We'll get out of here. Gary's got to go. We'll pick that one up.
Thank you.
Plenty of time next season to do that. Take care, everyone. Slap a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you.